Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Abbou. I'm the president of the European AI Forum, and I'm very happy to welcome you to the 9th edition of the European AI Forum, live from Vilnius in Lithuania. With me is my colleague Chloé. Chloé is from Hub France IA, the French AI Association, and our host, Linas, from the Artificial Intelligence Association of Lithuania. We are very happy that you're here live in Vilnius, but of course the thousands of people who are watching us on YouTube and streaming, and we are very happy to be here. That was a very interesting year for artificial intelligence in Europe. Only the highlights, of course, the European AI Act and the national implementation, which is really important also in the following years. But when you're here the first time at the European AI Forum, we are an association of associations to speak. We are 8 countries working together to promote artificial intelligence in Europe. And of course, I'm also the general manager of the German AI Association. We are representing 470 startups and scale-ups from Germany with a focus on the development of AI tools. And so we're working together throughout the national associations. And perhaps, Chloé, perhaps you can explain a little to us about, for example, Hub France IA.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Daniel, for the introduction. So what we do at Hub France AI is that we federate the French AI ecosystem. We do it through working groups, through projects, through events, and we now have more than 200 members.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Linas, how is the situation in Lithuania?
Well, in Lithuania, we do not have so many SMEs and startups, but nevertheless, we have a lot of professionals and who are members of the AI Association of Lithuania, and we're trying to do everything in our power to empower our ecosystem, our startups and companies to be also visible in the Europe, even we are a small country.
Yeah, speaking that you're a smaller country in this sense, but how can I say, the implementation of AI in the federal government or in SMEs or in the industry in Lithuania?
Well, one of the benefits in Lithuania and smaller countries is that we are flexible and we could communicate with all of the stakeholders quite quickly. We could have various initiatives. We currently do have the Artificial Intelligence Forum, which is moderating the government implementation strategy, and it will provide some guidelines for the Ministry of the Economy and Innovation, and we will see how it will run. But we do hope so that it will go smoothly and we will be prepared in really good manner.
Are there also, how can I say, universities in the AI Association of Lithuania? Is it more industry driven? How would you explain that, someone who hasn't got contact with you yet?
So since we are host, we are really excited that we bring this European AI Forum here in Lithuania for the first time. And we as ecosystem combine all of the stakeholders, the academia, we have all of the major faculties, we covering all of the major startups and the companies who's doing AI, and they are a member of the AI Association, and we have the majority of the professionals who are also joined the association. So in this manner, we really cover a lot of, and we are umbrella of the AI in Lithuania.
How is it in Hub France IA, Chloé? Is it industry, academia, and startups, or how is the organization Hub France IA structured?
Well, we are quite lucky, I would say, because in the past 2 years we have grown tremendously. Like, it's exponential. So we now have startups, academia, we have very big companies, the 3 biggest banks, for example. So it's really mixed, and we managed to make everyone work together toward achieving goals. So, for example, explaining the impact of generative AI, we have been working on sustainable development, and I will tell you more about this later today. So yes, it's very mixed, and this is representative of how it's going in France right now.
Just speaking of highlights, because afterwards Chloé will talk about sustainability. Linas, what are your highlights from this session today?
Well, we are excited because in our tracks we'll cover what AI Act implementation in the human rights context will be happening. We also have a panel discussion about how the AI could be used in the dual applications, which is not discussed very often. And it's really challenging since it's not covered and it is under exception in the AI Act. And we finally would like to touch the green AI and all of the aspects that, hey, we expanding the computations, but it's have its price. So it will be exciting program.
Okay, so we are getting further to this. Linas, would you be so kind to introduce us to our first speaker?
Yeah, so it's my pleasure to invite for a welcoming talk our Vice Minister, the Erika Kuročkina from the Economy and Innovation Ministry, and she will introduce what the ministry is doing, what initiatives in all of the efforts for the Lithuania to be really strong player.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure today to participate and to share some thoughts and directions which are working on at the moment, Ministry of Economy and Innovation. You know, we already before the event started was talking about that nowadays it's natural that everything is about AI. I remember at the beginning of this year, MIT released its one of the issues about the major tendencies this year, technological tendencies this year. And once again, like last year, one of the major directions, of course, was artificial intelligence. And they sent a very clear message that AI is everywhere, even in sugar. What does it mean? It means that artificial intelligence definitely is changing not only business processes, priorities in R&D, it also changes our daily routine in general. It changes the manner how public sector could work and might work. So what we are doing at the moment in the government, in our ministry, it already was mentioned that we organized an AI forum. What is it? It is a platform, a discussion platform, which is dedicated to the main stakeholders working in artificial intelligence area. It is governmental representatives, it is academia representatives, and of course it is business community. Because one of the priorities in our ministry is to ensure that the business environment for the promotion of innovation culture, for the creation of the new businesses is the most important for the modern economy and for the competitive economy. So I hope that at the end of this forum in September, we will have guidelines which we will be able to present to the major political stakeholders, to the high-level politicians, and we will consider about the renewing of our artificial intelligence strategy. I'm really proud that Lithuania was one of the, actually was the second country in European Union which had the draft and actually recognized artificial intelligence strategy among the EU countries. It was in 2019. Later on in 2022, we prepared another document like the scenarios in which directions Lithuania as a country has to go in the developing of artificial intelligence. So that's that strategical dimension. Next thing, which we are also implementing at the moment, we are working on the implementation of the Artificial Intelligence Act requirements. Basically, it is about the regulation, it is about the major institutions' responsibilities, and of course, artificial intelligence handbooks. My priority, our government priority, our ministry priority is to ensure friendly regulations. It is important to regulate because we are working in the legal environment. It's natural, but it is important not to over-regulate, because we have to ensure that innovations could flourish in the modern economy and modern environment. Also, our innovation agency is responsible for the establishment of artificial intelligence sandbox. As far as I know, at the moment on the European level among all EU members, we are actually the first country which started to do it last year already. We already have the concept of AI sandbox. We are working on various financial incentives. We are identifying the necessary infrastructure for our AI startup community, for business community. And I hope that next year it will start operating already. And another very important thing, we're talking a lot about regulation, we're talking a lot about that institutional, organizational structure, but also we have to talk about the skills, about the change of the mindset, about the change of the mindset among the general society, among the public sector employees. What I feel as a politician from the general society, that they are afraid of artificial intelligence. They are still afraid of artificial intelligence because they do not understand that what about is this technology. And we have to work, and I'm really happy that the intensity of various events dedicated not only for the expert community, but also for the general society is rising. So it is important for you as a community to send that message to the people why it is important to understand the value and the benefits which artificial intelligence can bring. So my third message is that we are working a lot in terms of the change of the mindset and of course the skills. So once again, I'm really happy that we have this format here in Lithuania. I'm really happy that our Lithuanian Artificial Intelligence Association is really active and we are working tightly together. It is important that the political direction could adapt and could help business community and of course academian community to implement all ideas and all solutions in as much business-friendly environment as it is possible. So once again, thank you so much and I wish you an insightful and of course productive day.
So we are really excited that we have multiple really nice keynote speakers, and I would like to welcome our next and the first keynote for the opening speech and opening keynote, our Tomas Lamanauskas, who is Deputy Secretary General on the International Telecommunications Unit.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, as Deputy Minister Erika Kuročkina, dear friends, dear colleagues, indeed it's a pleasure to welcome you today at this 9th European AI Forum here in Vilnius. And it's my honor, of course, to address you on the challenges and opportunities we face today created by the world of AI, and a little bit about the governance to ensure that the AI works for our sustainable future. So indeed, a year and a half since ChatGPT captured our attention and headlines worldwide, AI has become really the very familiar part of the lives of millions of people. AI-driven misinformation and potential job losses are being weighted against unprecedented process efficiencies, analytical cloud, and simple convenience of everyday tasks. However, crucial AI governance discussions are moving from high-level principles now to the practical realities of deciding how we should or shouldn't be able to use AI. So just 3 weeks ago, we had our AI for Good Summit in Geneva, which featured actually AI-driven breakthroughs for people on planet, and a few of them I would like to mention. For starters, in healthcare. For example, groundbreaking brain-machine interface technologies, which are poised to revolutionize neurology and clinical treatments. AI-driven surface electromyography, which is a technology that leverages electrical activity generated by muscles using surface electrodes, and gives patients better than ever motor control. Innovations in prosthetics and rehabilitation engineering, which unlock bionic dexterity. And indeed, it was a little bit of an emotional, actually, moment on the stage, where an LS patient, Luis from Portugal, who lost his ability to speak, was able to communicate with the audience using the company Startups Enables Halo device and AI technologies as well. Indeed, existing AI technologies address all the 17 SDG goals. They enhance Earth observation satellite data, climate monitoring, early warning systems, and growing need in the harsh face of climate change. Our AI for Good Innovation Factory, which we had launched or actually awarded winners at COP28 last year, highlighted a number of startups working on groundbreaking technologies to leverage AI all over the world. For example, a company like Poseidon AI, reducing fish feed costs, Tolby from Senegal, utilizing satellite data to increase cashew fields in West Africa, and others. AI is also helping nuclear energy. ITU's and International Atomic Energy Agency's challenge, innovation challenge, and AI for fusion energy is simulating fusion to avoid radioactive waste. Cutting-edge AI technologies also support peace building and humanitarian operations worldwide. And then AI also aids in law enforcement analysis, for example, helping save or protect children from harmful situations. And all these different applications indeed have been explored in AI for Good platform. So which is powered by ITU and supported by 40 UN partners. This platform features our annual summits, as well as extensive year program of online events, as well as continuous community engagement through our neural network platform, which now has around 26,000 participants. This year's AI for Good Summit, which took place in Geneva next to the WSIS Plus 20 Forum high-level event, also, so it attracted 8,000 participants, 6,500 of them in person, underscoring how much AI has captured public imagination. And indeed, the crowds that were convening, they were queuing up in front of the conference center there were a very visual testament to that. So this AI for Good Summit started 7 years ago as a solutions summit, but of course now has worked into global showcase for responsible AI development. And indeed, important word these days is responsible when we talk about AI development. Because the new reality of AI-powered misinformation, disinformation, and deepfakes is rather unsettling, especially in the year when around half of the world's population are going to the polls. Gender, racial, and other biases are also deeply perpetuated by insensitively trained AI models. And a recent study, global study, showed that around 45% of AI models demonstrate gender bias, which direct impacts on the different aspects from healthcare to employment opportunities. We also cannot disregard AI use in the warfare. Harmful, aggravating social oppressive or even lethal uses only stroke growing fears of AI, as people imagine a future dominated by autonomous machines. So real risks from AI need to be recognized and they need to be addressed. However, just focusing on risks also undermines huge potential of AI. For example, the studies show that AI could add around $4.4 trillion to the global economy. At the same time, digital solutions, including AI, can help meet around 70% of sustainable development goals as well. And clearly, therefore, we need power of AI harnessed, but harnessed responsibly, safely, and sustainably. So appropriate governance is key, and already some of the instruments were mentioned. Europe just a month ago actually featured a few achievements, of course one of them being EU final adoption European Union AI Act, but another one, which I think we'll hear a little bit more next, is Council of Europe's Framework Convention on AI, which is the first ever international treaty in that area. Other jurisdictions, such as US, China, as well as others, also developing their own AI regulations. And we have a number of international processes, such as G7 Hiroshima process, as well as AI Safety Summits process, with the last summit in Seoul, Seoul, Korea, just a month ago. Leading AI policymakers and conveners of these initiatives also came to Geneva on the 29th of May in the first ever our AI Governance Day, which was part of AI Summit. It features around 200 participants, out of them around 70 ministers, 25 UN partners, around 100 academia and industry people, and more than half of them came from developing countries. And Minister for Bangladesh then spoke for, I think, for many of them when he noted the absence of many countries, developing countries, from the global AI governance processes, and he really noted importance and emphasized that the countries, everyone needs to be included in those governance discussions. Policy leaders there emphasized a few points that they felt are important as we design the future of AI governance. First is responsible frameworks, so tying AI closely to ethics and human rights. Second is interoperability. Interoperability of both platforms, technical interoperability, but also interoperability in terms of policy frameworks, so ensure that our policy and regulatory environments are compatible. And this interoperability should be underpinned by third, international technical standards. They also noted the importance of leveraging AI to bridge the divides and not to create new ones, as well as emphasize need of global solidarity and resource sharing to make sure that AI doesn't leave anyone behind. And indeed, that is an important aspect of the divides, and the risk of having a new type of digital divide is AI divide. Indeed, just a reminder, still 2.6 billion people worldwide are not connected to the global internet, so they are left out of the global digital revolution, let alone of AI revolution. And of course, developed countries host around 80% of co-location data centers, with one of the country actually having around 40% of them, which leaves the rest of the world to share the rather small number of them. The divide is also evident in a number of other areas, such as innovations and patents concentration. Some studies show that around 50% of patents are concentrated in 3 countries. Countries, a different place in the AI value chains, some of them producing key components such as microchips, or employ engineers to develop foundational models, where this is a source of raw materials or data labeling and data sorting, as well as the AI policy divide. So our survey of our member states shows that around 85% of the countries still lack AI regulations, and more than half of them doesn't even have AI policy. So we, and when I talk we, as UN, are responding. And we are responding to make sure that, as in the words of Secretary General Antonio Guterres just said just a week ago in the ITU Council, that AI doesn't stand for advancing inequality. Indeed, for several years now, our UN has been having a set of activities in this regard. Our recently launched UN system white paper on AI governance features around 50 normative acts, both directly applicable to AI, around half of them, as well as closely related areas that are applicable to AI as well by the UN system. They include overarching broad guidelines, such as UN ethics framework, AI ethics framework, as well as sector-specific ones, such as guidelines from WHO or guidelines from a UN agency called UNICRI on use of AI in law enforcement. This interagency working group started in 2020. It brings UN family together, and I have a pleasure to co-chair that with the UNESCO Assistant Director General Gabriel Ramos. And this, of course, this work through this work, it contributes and complements a high-level advisory body on AI set up by Secretary General that brings external experts to help UN figure out how to govern artificial intelligence. UN agencies also implement AI projects. Actually, we launched now annual reports on UN AI activities. Our recent one demonstrates around just over 400 projects by 47 agencies that leverage AI. We also have different collaborations on different standardization areas, such as our collaboration on AI in health with WHO and WIPO, our collaboration with the WMO, World Meteorological Organization, United Nations Environmental Programme on AI and disaster management, and so on. We also, as ITU, already have developed or in the process of developing around 200 AI-related standards overall. So in all our work, we'll also make sure that the big place strong emphasis of including all countries, both developed and developing alike. So, for example, our challenges in AI machine learning, and we had them around 80 so far, involved around 8,000 participants around the world, and those who don't have access to compute resources, we actually provide them for free. At the recent AI for Good Summit launched a few other initiatives to support AI governance worldwide. First, it's launched the Unified Framework for AI Standards Development under the umbrella of World Standards Corporation that brings together ITU, together with International Standardization Organization, ISO, and International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC. Second, we launched a collaboration for multimedia authenticity, AI watermarking, and deepfake detection with a number of private and public sector partners to tackle that very specific challenge in the world today. The third, we launched AI for Good Impact initiative to mobilize our diverse multi-stakeholder community to share knowledge and assist developing countries. UNDP and UNESCO agreed to collaborate on country AI readiness assessments to help countries to be better prepared for that. And finally, we, together with United Nations University, UNU, started the process for the flagship AI for Good report that will transform the AI for Good platform knowledge in the available resources stakeholders. One aspect I also would like to mention, and I'm very glad it was mentioned in the opening, is sustainability and AI environmental impact. Indeed, just a reminder, this year, May became 12 months in a row, hitting the record high temperatures worldwide. And as AI climate crisis already steers us into phase, we must decide whether AI is part of the problem or part of the solution. And digital technologies, of course, including AI, can improve energy efficiency, optimize inventory management, enhance business operations, reduce emissions and new waste across different sectors. And actually, by some assessments, AI can mitigate worldwide around 5 to 10% greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, which is equivalent to total emissions of the European Union. So, and of course, AI can also help predict climate and weather patterns, guiding and helping early warning systems to preventing us from disasters or helping us to mitigate disasters. But the tech sector itself also produced at least 1.7% in greenhouse gas emissions. And even though overall emissions for the tech and technology sector are rather stable over the last years, AI represents a very fast growing emissions proportion to that. Actually, emissions from data centers, cloud data centers, between 2020 and 2022 increased by 45%, and energy consumption 57%. AI is also very thirsty. Actually, 5 to 10 prompts consumes around half a liter of water. So every time you send 10 prompts in ChatGPT, think of how you just drank the small bottle of water. So indeed, starting last year with the last year's climate change conference, COP28, ITU has brought together partners around the world under the umbrella of Green Digital Action to galvanize digital industries' action to take responsibility for our actions in this phase of the climate crisis. And indeed, these forward-looking companies have embraced the target of 1.5 degree limit for global warming, and they all together asked to share their own, but also invited other companies, greenhouse gas emissions data at the public database. We also together aim to ensure the sustainability standards are implemented, not just adopted, and we really invite everyone to join us on board in that journey. And of course, we're looking forward to COP29 in Baku this year as the next milestone in that regard. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all have a responsibility to make sure that the age of AI becomes the age of prosperity, sustainability, and inclusion, not the age of the fear, anxiety, or division. And to achieve that, we need to manage the risks of AI, ensure that its benefits are available to all, and also include the whole world in shaping the AI future. Thank you very much, and have a great event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tomas. We really appreciate your input. I learned that AI is thirsty. This is also something to remember by, and very grateful for your insights on this part. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to the Netflix part of this event. We have a video message and we are very happy and proud that the German Federal Minister for Transportation and Digital Affairs, Dr. Volker Wissing, is having a short speech to us via video, and now we press play. Do we? Yeah.
Esteemed European AI Forum participants, distinguished guests from the business and scientific communities, from politics and society, ladies and gentlemen. Our aim is artificial intelligence made in Europe. The best way to reach it is for many stakeholders to get involved, contribute, communicate, and connect, like you are doing at this conference and beyond. You are driving AI, and AI is driving technological progress. We want to tap the tremendous opportunities AI offers. This means that AI developers have to be given the freedom and flexibility they need to try things out and experiment. So much is happening in AI and at such a high speed. No one here knows the limits of what AI can do today or will be able to do in the future. That is why it is imperative that AI regulations are adaptable and can be updated as required. For example, at G7 level, we successfully championed common guardrails for the development of advanced AI systems. This code of conduct is a true milestone for safe use of AI worldwide. It helps to ensure that AI is developed in line with our values. This strengthens people's trust in AI applications. This is also what we want the European AI Act to do. We worked to find innovation-friendly rules during the consultations. The compromise we reached provides a reliable framework and guidance. Now it is up to us to implement the AI Act. Our implementation should build on existing structures without losing sight for our needs. Data is the foundation of AI innovation. It must be widely available and easy to find, access and use. We can and must improve this in Europe. Much of the data that has already been collected remains untapped. In the future, the European Data Act will help change this. And we are already looking into what else is needed, for example, through our Innovation Club. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Germany have joined forces in this club to boost Europe's standing in the digital sector and champion innovation-friendly framework conditions. To this end, we have drawn up a list of demands for an opportunity-driven digital agenda for the next European Commission. Our aims include cutting red tape, removing unnecessary reporting duties and breaking down market barriers. We also want to grow the AI and data economy. The end goal is a truly complete digital single market in Europe. This is a challenging task that policymakers and the administration cannot shoulder on their own. That is why we need you, the stakeholders from the business and scientific communities and civil society. We are counting on your impetus and vision, as well as your optimism and passion for digitalization. We need more of this very mindset across the board to drive digital change. Now I would like to wish you every success for your event, interesting conversations, and lots of new insights and inspiration. I thank you very much and wish you all the best.
So it was really nice to have a welcoming message from the minister. And now, since we having the presidency of Lithuania in the Council of Europe in this half a year, we are really glad to invite the chair of the AI committee in the Council of Europe, the Thomas Schneider.
Thank you. So the thing to if I just say next slide, can you then move it, or should I do it myself? Okay. So I guess it's this one. Ah, no, there's another one. Okay. So I will say a few words about also how the Council of Europe is trying to contribute to safe innovation, as we call it. So how to regulate AI while fostering innovation. And now I have 2 hands and 3 things, so let's see how that goes. So first of all, I think we should not forget that AI is not the first disruptive technology that we are facing, and it can be the way to deal with AI or the effects of AI can be in many ways be compared with the invention of engines in the 19th century, because engines were either put in vehicles of all kinds to move people or goods around, or were put in machines to produce food or other things. And they were replacing human labor or animal labor like horses and so on. And something similar is happening with AI. AI is used to create content or process data, which is something that used to be done basically by human beings. So it does not replace manual labor or physical labor, but actually cognitive labor. And if we talk about AI, I think we should also talk about platforms, because this is one of the key applications, not the only one, of AI. And platforms are an extremely powerful tool to bring together supply and demand. You can have a personalized demand and get a personalized offer, and this is something that is extremely more efficient than all the traditional ways to bring together offer and demand so far. So platforms will make their way. We already know it. They started with Booking.com and other platforms. Now we have them all over the place. So they will replace lots of other ways of bring together offer and demand. And I actually can see it here, so that helps. And of course, we also know about the many risks and challenges that AI bring with it. Of course, people are afraid to lose their job. That is one element that we've heard. We are afraid about the functioning of our democracies, manipulation. We are afraid about privacy, human rights. We are afraid about being dependent of big tech, gatekeepers, and so on and so forth. The core fear is basically for people, individuals, for whole societies, for industries, that we lose control over our lives to machines, or probably more probable, to people that run the machines or have control over the machines if it's not us. And so there is a need. Everybody says, yes, we need to regulate. Then the question, of course, is how. And one challenge that we had in the beginning was like, what are we talking about? What do we mean when we talk about AI? Fortunately, the OECD has helped with this, and they have agreed on a definition that also the Council of Europe has started to use, and that has made its way. So for the time being, at least for legal purposes, there is something like an accepted definition of AI. Then, of course, what makes it difficult, but it was the same with the engines, is the risks and the opportunity you use. It depends on what you use it for, with what data and so on. So there's no one-size-fits-all solution. And the other thing, we've heard it, technology is developing really fast. How do we manage to govern a technology by written laws, which is changing so fast, which even the ones that program don't really know exactly what it's doing? How do we live with the fact that we are national jurisdictions, or in the case of the EU, a supranational jurisdiction, but it's a global phenomenon. We buy services from anywhere. They are developed somewhere and then used elsewhere. One of the big questions that we have in my country, for instance, is should we go for a horizontal legislation like the EU does with the AI Act, which is of course also accompanied by other acts and other tools, or should we go for a sector-specific regulation? There are many ways to roam. Also the question of what should we do in terms of binding laws, how much can we do with co- and self-regulatory regimes? Lots of questions, but then again, let's look at what is actually really new, what is really different with AI compared to other technologies, other ways. And if we actually look at our existing regulation, our existing regimes, from human rights to standards, the gap is actually not that big as some people think. So most of the situations are basically also covered when it comes to AI, but there is a gap, there is a need to clarify a few aspects. And also there, we can actually learn from how we dealt with engines in the last 200 years. We don't have one engine law, one Council of Europe convention on engines that solves everything. We don't have a ministry for engines. We have thousands of legal norms, of technical standards, and of social-cultural norms and institutional settings that together somehow help us to deal with engines. And there is a different level of harmonization depending on the context. So if you take the airline business, it's more or less globally standardized how to land a plane on an airport, what the words are used and so on. If you look at the car system, the Germans still have some motorways where they have no speed limits. In other countries it is different. The people in the UK drive on the other side of the road, but they can't take their cars to Europe. They just need to pay attention, and in particular the other ones need to pay attention when the Brits are on our road. So there's different levels of harmonization, again, based on the context. And we'll need to do the same for AI, because social-cultural differences, in particular on how to deal with risks, what you defer to the state to protect you, whereas in other cultures you rather build on the on the awareness of the people to take care of themselves. So that will not disappear, at least not quickly. So we will have some harmonization in some areas, but less in others. And of course, the comparison with the engine is something I really like, but there are differences. It's not so easy to copy an engine or to copy oil or move oil from one place to the next, whereas of course with digital bits you can move them around and copy them much faster. So we'll probably have more globalization. We'll probably need more international harmonization than we had with engines. So of course we are actually for quite some time, if you look at the international institutions, and we had Thomas Lamanauskas from the ITU, they started with the EAIF a Good Summit in 2017. That was about the time where actually all of the international institutions started to work on AI. We do have some soft law standards like the OECD, that was one of the first with their recommendation that was just recently updated. You have the Council of Europe with sectorial guidance on the media system, on human rights, in the judicial system. Then of course the first global instrument was the UNESCO recommendation on ethics of AI. And then you have tons of guidelines, principles already before, by industry players, by companies, by company industry associations, by think tanks and so on. And what is missing here is we have, of course, technical standards that are being developed at the ITU, at the ISO, at the IEC, IEEE, and so on and so forth. And there is more and more cooperation between these. And now this is like what is happening on national levels. And you probably know this famous pyramid over there, since this is a country of the EU. So we have the EU AI Act, which is one way to try and regulate AI in a national or supranational jurisdiction based on this famous risk-based approach. It is interesting to hear the German Minister Wissing, because everybody says that they all try to do the same thing. We want to innovate, we want to foster innovation, but we want to protect human rights and societies and the functioning of our democracies. But there are quite different ways to do it. And of course, everybody thinks that they have the best and most innovative and most agile solution. Time will tell. So we have the EU approach. Then the US has taken a different path based on voluntary commitments, on self-regulation, complemented with an executive order of a few months ago that outlines a number of policy goals, in particular targeting the administration itself, less the private sector, with a number of measures. The UK is choosing a similar path. They are not going for a horizontal legislation. They try to adapt the sectors, boost all their regulators, connect them, empower them, and have like a central institute that is supposed to help with the empowerment. Japan is going in a similar direction. My country is also thinking about how, let's find something in between the AI Act and what the UK and others are doing, because of course, for us, it's clear that we need to be interoperable with the EU because we're in the middle of Europe and our economies is so connected. But we may be trying to go for something a little less complicated from a Swiss simple perspective. But we'll see where we end up. But again, the goals are normally the same, but the ways are different. And will not have these things fully harmonized, because these things also depend on the history of the institutions. There's reasons why the EU did it the way they did, because they have 27 member states. They want to have a harmonized single market. So there are reasons why the US chose their way, because they knew they would never get something like the AI Act through their own parliament, and so on and so forth. So the question is, how do we achieve the interoperability that we need in order to actually be able to function across borders and exchange services? And this is where the Council of Europe, in my view, can contribute. Also, Council of Europe has started to work with on AI, as I said before, 2016-17, and then spent 3 years studying what are the gaps, what is actually needed in terms of legal instrument on human rights, democracy, and rule of law for 3 years. And based on that, then the committee on AI that I'm chairing since April 22 got the mandate to develop a legal framework that would be based on the Council of Europe standards on human rights, democracy, and rule of law. So it's not a market regulatory instrument, it's a human rights, democracy, and rule of law instrument, but it should be conducive to innovation. So again, we see the same goals all over the place. Plus, and this is important because these are all papers, we need something to actually operationalize these concepts. So what we will develop until the end of the year is a so-called HUDERIA, a human rights, democracy and rule of law impact assessment, which is something similar to what you've seen with the risk pyramid of the EU, but it's focusing purely on human rights, democracy and rule of law and not on things like product safety and others, and so it should be complementary to what the EU and other standardization bodies are developing. And it was a very intense process that led us to the end of the negotiations this March. Again, the purpose was, there was no consensus to create new rights or strengthen rights, but at least we wanted to keep the existing protection levels for democracy, human rights and rule of law. And it was clear to many that it would maybe not be enough to just have a European instrument, because we have the Court of Human Rights, we have the EU AI Act that will have an effect also on countries like mine and others. But we felt it's important, the Council of Europe is the only institution that may bring countries, like-minded countries that share the same values together in a more or less global instrument. And we already had 11 countries. We have all the G7 here, if you look at it, that were negotiating and they all signed up to this. And it was an inclusive process with civil society and others on board. And so the general logic of the Council of Europe Convention is it should limit itself to fundamental principles that are complementary to existing human rights instruments, but also to existing other instruments, and should just fill the legal gaps that the new technology like AI poses. It should be future-proof, so it should not go too much into detail, because the Convention on Data Protection lasted for 40 years until it was revised, so that is the challenge. So it should actually at least last for like 20 years. And the biggest fight was, of course, the scope of application, because countries like the US would have preferred that this is not applicable to private sector, just to public sector, but the expectation in Europe was quite clear that it should also cover. In the end, the compromise that was found was it covers all, so states are obliged to address risks by all actors, but it gives them a great leeway, a great choice of what measures, so it can be legal measures, it can be self-regulation and so on. And this is basically the shared consensus that also should help us becoming interoperable between these different legal systems. These are the principles, I will not read them out loud. The most important in this area is, the others are human rights principle, the last one is called safe innovation. So it should also foster innovation. Thomas said responsible innovation. It is here called safe innovation, but it's basically the same idea, and the AI Act also has provisions about how to create sandboxes and other tools that should help allow to innovate and be safe. Finally, a few remarks looking ahead. We really think that the Council of Europe Framework Convention is an important tool to safeguard human rights, democracy and rule of law on the one hand, but also to help like-minded countries come together, make sure that they cooperate with each other, that they try and keep their systems, their logics interoperable. And of course, it is clear that this is not, again, not the solution to everything. It's one milestone, but there will be, we'll need to develop, again, hundreds or thousands of technical, legal, and social-cultural norms in order to deal with AI in the different contexts. And it also offers a path for cooperation between governments, also with ones that may not yet have signed or ratified the convention. So it provides, like the Cybercrime Convention did successfully too, it provides for a framework for cooperation also with countries that may not be close enough to sign up to it, but that may be willing to cooperate with us. And the final point is this, and this is a general remark. If you take my country, we normally take like 5 years to develop a law. And then we have a direct democracy, so if enough people don't like it, they go for a referendum, so it takes a year, people will vote on it, and if the majority of the people don't like it, then there's a no, that means back to square one. It takes another 5 years to develop the next version. So we can take from 5 to 10 years to develop a law. The technology will probably slightly evolve and the challenges will slightly evolve. So I think that we really need to also adapt our governance models and mechanisms to new technologies. We cannot work with the structures that were actually created or influenced by the first industrial revolution, in the middle of the 19th century, where trains were starting to run across the continent. There was no France, there was no Germany, there was no Italy. These national states, the parliament didn't exist. But also the Industrial Revolution led to the emergence of milieus. You had the entrepreneur party, you had the working class party, and then you had the farmers. And we are still basically using the 19th century governance tools to try and deal with the challenges and the technology of the 21st century. And we are realizing that this works less and less well, that we are just not able to represent the people with these milieus, that the parties are breaking apart, but also not to find a solution as quick enough. So we may have to rethink. We may have to use AI also to develop legislation or to develop standards. It's already being used. And we also may have to think how to rethink our parliaments, our ways to make law, and maybe also that they change dynamically, not just every 5 years, but they change almost daily like the technology develops. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, please take the microphone. Thank you so much for your very engaging keynote here. So, let's start at the end of your keynote, that parliament and governance has to change. I have, how can I say, a life motto which is called "Happiness is the right expectations, right expectation management." Do you see tendencies that governance changes? Because I think with the EU AI Act we saw that it is still in the 19th or in the beginning of the 20th century.
Well, there's one thing, and Thomas Lamanauskas knows it very well. On global level, you have a big discussion about multilateral processes, where so-called multi-stakeholder processes, where you involve not just representatives from governments or parliaments, but actually the industry, the academia, the technical community, civil society. And I think this is a way to try and have a more representative gathering of people, also more expertise, because if you look at our parliamentarians or our politicians, how much do they know about AI? So there are people that decide about technologies that basically they are not really experts, let's put it diplomatically. And this makes only limited sense. Of course, they are elected by the people, so they have a legitimacy, but they have no knowledge. And then the question is, how do you empower them? Or would it make sense to also there be more agile and get the people at the table that actually know about the issues, also more dynamically, depending on what the challenge is, depending on what the issues are, not having to go through the gatekeepers of parliamentarians. But then you need to find a regime to have a legitimacy for a new model, and this is what people that don't like the multi-stakeholder approach say, well, governments are elected, so I represent my country, my people, and it's more or less true depending on your democratic system. And the stakeholders are not elected, so who are you to speak? And we are trying to find ways to actually provide for more inclusive, more agile, more accountable and transparent policy-making structures on international level, also on national level. We are a bottom-up democracy, so we have to be inclusive. Otherwise, if you ignore people, they just say no, and then again, you go back to square one. I think it starts by being more inclusive, more transparent, more accountable, and then we need to find ways to redefine representativity, maybe less through geographically elected party representatives, but through other skills or representativity of a particular industry, of a particular knowledge, of a particular interest, but not necessarily through the party logic from the 19th century.
When you said, when you showed all the guidelines, all the international papers which are surrounding AI at the moment, I personally believe you can train a large language model on all the regulations and guidelines on the national level on this. How can you harmonize this? Because I think sometimes every country has their interest of doing their own strategy, of doing their own recommendations, and even in the adaptation of the AI Act, I have the fear that we have one AI Act, but 27 different views on it. How would you harmonize that?
Again, I think it will never be possible to harmonize everything to 100%. It is probably also not really needed and does not make sense because people are different. People's lives are to some extent different. We are assimilating. Italy is not that much different anymore from Germany like it used to be 30 years ago when it came to rules. But there are technical standards that some of them will make it, others won't. And the ones that make it, they will harmonize from a technical point of view, maybe product safety, whatever you can solve for technical standards. There may be two competing standards we used to have. The older ones like The video standard in the US was different, so if you were in the US and bought a VHS cassette, thought like great, and then you put it in your thing at home, it's like, didn't really work. So we'll probably want to avoid this, but also on the legal basis, like this is the EU will have an effect on other countries like mine, the UK. They say, well, we are not really looking at what the EU does, but of course they are, which is the narrative. And the Council of Europe Convention will harmonize it from a human rights perspective. And the good thing is, like, the ones that are members of the Council of Europe, they're bound by the human rights treaties anyway. So they basically have to follow it anyways. But we have all the G7, we have Canada, we have a number of Latin American countries. So there will be some harmonizing effect through this on the legal basis. But then the social-cultural differences will probably remain. So, yeah, and this is a trial and error. Again, we are, after 200 years of engines, we managed to bring down the dead people in factories, dead people in car traffic, that airplanes are not falling from the sky daily, but we didn't manage to do something against the biggest challenge, which is the CO2 problem, the climate change problem, after 200 years. Well, we didn't really know about it for 200 years, but we know about it for, I don't know, 50 years, 60 and we haven't managed to solve that problem. And it will be probably the same wherever there's an interest, and the low-hanging fruits will be caught very easily, but the bigger problems, it depends on whether there's a common interest to actually work together and solve the problems. So let's hope that this will be the case.
Thomas Schneider, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, up to the next point is, of course, at the moment we are discussing the implications of AI and the problematics that we're facing. And certainly the point of disinformation and automatic influence is a challenge for society, economy, and democracy. And we are very, very happy from the Professor Wittpahl to have you here for your keynote. We really appreciate. Please, a little applause.
Thank you very much. What I will tell you is showing some developments caused by AI, also now speeding up, like the technology developments. And for this, I will give you another view angle on things you already know. So, because I'm a professor, I will tell you a little bit about history. How did AI begin? So it began with pattern recognition in the mid of the last century. So I have had a device that I would like to have for pattern recognition, and I needed a trainer who trained the system. So by this, when there was an input, the trainer said, this is the right pattern, this is the wrong pattern. And after a long training, he has implemented this in a system that was able to recognize a dedicated pattern. We have now 3 technology trends that lead into, let's say, AI as you know it nowadays. So one that started a few decades ago was the improved hardware. So in the beginning, it means I was able not to do one pattern recognition, but many pattern recognition in the same time. So in this example, if I have the input of a square, I couldn't only detect the shape, but also the color. So I was able to create systems that have been able to recognize both patterns in one. The next development that leads into AI has been the so-called self-training algorithms. You know it as machine learning, deep learning, however you name it. What happened there was that we have added a kind of feedback loop within the pattern recognition. And by this, we have optimized the probability of the recognized pattern. And as a result, the system that was trained, or is still training itself, is able also to recognize patterns that it was not trained on. The third development that has made an impact is this huge amount of training data that is available nowadays. And the impact of this is that we are able to make the probabilities of the pattern recognition more precise. And by this, we have now done by the global tech training of models by all available texts, by all available pictures, by all available audios, by all available videos, and by all available codes. So this is roughly the development into AI, and the question is, what kind of principal applications are created with this? So coming from a technical point of view, an AI application is a kind of response creation system. So I have an input, I have this pattern recognition, and then I create an output. And from the beginning, it was for identification. So via an AI system, I'm able to identify, for instance, the meaning of a text, or I'm able to identify by audio a music, the song or the style of the music, maybe also the singer of the music. I can also identify voices or the tone of the voice. So all of this is feasible by the pattern recognition or by AI, but also the identification of sceneries on a picture or the persons on the picture. And this, of course, you already know. If I use the response also for creation, that I just try to check which kind of pattern fits better, you are already aware of the prompting. So I prompt something as an input, and then the system creates something as an output. So like you know from ChatGPT, text prompt can be used to create text, for instance, for chats or for translations or summaries and all the applications that pops up during the last 2 years. With audio, I can do the same. I can use an audio and prompt to create music. So the music creation is now as professional as you do it as a human composer. You can create now voice clones where you can give your voice to any language, to any kind of singing. So this is feasible nowadays with prompting. And also the prompting of images, of videos is nowadays feasible. I saw the first trailers of movies that have been completely prompted by AI this week, so it's really incredible. If you now just switch the words input and output to action and reaction, you come to the next application of AI systems. And this is a control loop. So a control loop, technically, is something you have a monitored system and you want to keep it on a dedicated measure. And for this, you have an input, for instance, a square, and our control measure is a triangle, so the output should be a triangle. And the question is now, what is the most interesting system to monitor? Well, you are the most wanted training data set in the world, so you are the monitored system. And if we put, let's say, control loop below with the measure to keep you happy, if there's an input, for instance, a yellow square, then you become happy. So far the theory. To make this happen, of course, you need a very complicated pattern recognition system with very sharp propagations and probability sets that is self-learning. And basically, the foundation for this is already given. You can see this in the slide from Christy Wolfe from Cracked Labs. This is already 7 years old, and in this overview, you see what are the data inputs that you give to the system for free. So every interaction you do on the internet or on digital systems, like your clickings, like your swipings, like your video views, your registration on services, your app installations, your likes, your moves that you do when you have your mobile phone with you, the content you share, the posts you take, the purchase you do, and even the call center calls, they are all going into a kind of system where different companies process all your data, and this affects what you get. So what you see here is mainly the feedback loop that I have shown you before, and what you see is, and you already know from your experience, that this will lead into the content that is shown to you, that leads into the products that are recommended to you. And it's also the way how companies try to shape your behavior. And we know also that's not only for marketing purpose, but also to influence elections, like the Cambridge Analytica scandal has shown a few years ago. So, well, we have now correct now the feedback loop a bit, because the most important control measure for economy is not your happiness, but money, revenue, and profit. So, understanding that AI and pattern recognition is used as a kind of control loop, AI becomes now automated influence. So, this pattern recognition from the last century with a huge amount of data in the hardware enables us now to create this automated influence. And the monitored system of this automated influence is now a dedicated group of persons. And the control loop may try to get them all happy, or may them eye to buy some nice products, or to elect a dedicated candidate on the next election. So by this automated influence, I'm able to nudge complete target groups. What I would like to give you as a discussion starting point is a kind of impact map, very rough, of this automated influence. And I have tried to give it a bit direction into more bright application and more dark application, and the impact on economy, society, and democracy. It's not complete, it's just a starting point for discussion together. So let's start with marketing. Marketing is not that bad, but also not that bright, and at least is at the moment, legal automated influence we have. What we see now coming is an automated content generation, and this has three control measures, or measures why we are doing that. One is that we want to control decisions, for instance, for marketing or for elections. The other is attention, our attention, for instance, to stay on social media platforms or to stay on streaming service platforms, or our excitement. Well, in example, if we are online gamers, that we still continue gaming, or against streaming services where we still watch the movies. So, what I mentioned already is the entertainment part that has, of course, an impact to society. And if we think about this automated content generation, then, of course, the brightest impact would be education. If we use the measure to make young and old people consciousness more self-aware and so on. What we also see is that by automated content creation, we get disinformation. And disinformation is, if you like, the unwanted automated influence. And the unwanted automated influence has the aim to deceive you or to harm you. And there we have seen different examples. So for instance, the number of shock calls by voice clones where somebody is calling you as your daughter or your son with the voice of them to send money somewhere because there was an accident or something like this is increasing. I personally heard it now a few times during the last months from my personal environment, from people who have had this kind of calls. Then you have also the manipulation by real-time deepfakes. In 2022, the mayor of Berlin, Ms. Giffey, was talking to a fake mayor of Kiev, Klitschko. Luckily, it was just a comedian, but that was the first public event where real-time deepfake was used on a politician. And what happened this year in February was that there was company in Hong Kong, an international company, where happened a video call, and within this video call there was an employee of the finance department, some middle managers, and 3 members of the board of management who have been complete deepfake real-time avatars. And these 3 guys told the financial department that they should transfer 24 million US dollar to some bank accounts. This happens, and this was the first huge bank robbery, or robbery, if you like, done by deepfake this year. And from this case, we can assume that there will happen even more like this in the coming future, because the technology is improving and because the systems become more user-friendly. So my big hope is that we can create, by the regulation and the things we have heard also before on our European Commission, that we create together something that is doing a bright future for democracy, because AI could have there an impact too, from my point of view. But I have no examples at the moment. We have to create them together. Maybe we start nowadays. What I can see is that we get into something that is something like Orwell's 1984.0. What does it mean? So we know that we can create deepfakes quite easily, but we can create any kind of deepfake news without any problem anymore. We can prompt already campaigns with the content of the meme, like the photos, like the text released to this, and so on. And we even can create now fake sources, like the pink slime movement in US, where we make it also impossible for fact checkers in future to check, is this news real or is it a fake? Because I could create by AI immediately a website as a local newspaper where I just mix real news with fake news. And thinking about this, that you can do this by AI and you can do it in real time, this is the extension of the information, or of the Ministry of Information from George Orwell, where you can instantly change the history of the whole world, at least in the digital sphere. So, well, for the future, there are 3 attractors that I would like to show you. Well, if we look at the next 12 to 24 months from now, we see already some developments. You know them, I have explained some of them, like real-time translation, the real-time deepfakes, the voice clones, but also all this act like bots, act like a psychologist, act like a lawyer, act like, and so on and so on. What we see now, from the last example I described with the fake news, that we will get a loss of trust in digital news and digital sources. Why? Because most young people and people inform themselves via social media platforms. And fact-based content will become available only behind paywalls. That means that many news or fact-based information are not available for the masses anymore. And because we all knew that the AI-generated content on the internet will increase, it becomes harder to find really trustful information in future. So you see this already slowly coming as an attractor. The second attractor is the loss of trust in digital communication. I mentioned the example of this voice clone, of this shock calls. I mentioned the example with the real-time deepfakes. And now imagine that, that parties use this, or proxies use this to make speeches from CEOs or from politicians, or that this happen with the communication of yourself. So if you are not sure if the phone call you will receive or the video phone you will have is with your relatives, or if is with the AI, or is with somebody else. So that could make a real huge impact if this is rising faster than I try to hope, or I hope at the moment. The last thing I would like to mention is the loss of trust in privacy, because if all your data is a training data set for pattern, then you are completely naked to the public, or at least to the algorithms. And the other thing is, if you are not on the social media platforms, somebody could create a profile of you that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, and harm you by this, because this profile can make statement sense and also disturb your whole private life. So, and if you then also know that we have this emotion recognition speeding up, and you combine this with the other pattern recognition, then you have a first idea what the current technologies made an impact on society. As a conclusion, I have no conclusions, but I have some recommendations from my point of view. On a general level, ask yourself how much economy-driven AI is healthy for our society and our freedom. Second, start a common development for bright usage of AI to benefit our democracy. On a social or on a society level, I would say, let's raise data and AI literacy, and I mean automated influence, not only artificial intelligence. Second, establish sustainable, trusted news sources. And third, create secure fallback communication solutions instead that we lose trust in digital communication. On a personal level, I would like to recommend you become data economical, use free open source software, and have safe words in case of digital emergency with all your beloved and relateds. Thank you.
Volker, thank you so much. Well, that was, of course, a perhaps realistic, but also perhaps a bleak outlook on that. Just for the sake of discussion, if I can challenge you on this. Doesn't every new technology which comes into a society has this light and dark risk? So when you take, for example, the emergence of movies, and then came Leni Riefenstahl and did propaganda movies in Germany at the Nazi time. Isn't that always an inherent point of progress, this light and dark thing?
Yes, and there is no right and wrong. Just because you mentioned the movies. I was attending a workshop for the future of the movie production in Babelsberg last year, and we thought about the impact of AI. And there is a statement of Marvel Studios from last year that within the next 3 years, so next year, they have the first complete AI-produced superhero movie on the cinemas. And we have then thought, what does it mean for the production? And we have tried to just think ahead. And if we think ahead, what will come if all the systems come together is that you will get a real-time movie making that is individualized to your personal demands. Means we both like Star Wars, but
we do.
But the point is, we see the same movie, but in your movie, Princess Leia has blonde hairs, and mine she has dark hairs. The fighting scenes for you are very bloody with all the things.
Yes.
In my ones, you don't see it. You just see the idea of a fight. So you see this kind of individualization and customizing of movies will go ahead. What means?
But this is fantastic.
Yeah, and we are then. And then you are addicted, and you will not lose it anymore. So
still addicted, but
sorry.
But I get what you're transferring here. But isn't just also for challenging of the challenging state? Is there? I had also discussions with the creative industry, with the Produzentenallianz, and sometimes creative industries, in my thinking, are quite conservative in changing their business models. But isn't there a constant development of how the work is done, who is engaged, when you see the transformation from animated movies to CGI movies and stuff like that?
Well, you are right. But I have spoken with the guys also with the heading technology guys, and the point is this. The development of the technology is forced by AI is so fast that even if you try to keep it for your daily work, you can't do it. So if you are not willing to change, it's harder. But even if you are willing to change, the speed is so high you can't change. For instance, synchron speaker for German or other movies. You don't need it anymore because you have instant translation and you can use any voice clone. So why don't you need this actors anymore? It's just one example.
No, most definitely. I agree with that. But however, in one of my favorite bars in Berlin, they make silent movie nights. And there is a big poster there which says, stop the movie with sound. And that was the Association of Orchestra Player in Cinemas. And I think that this is the same development what you can see here.
And you can't stop it. Also, this actor protest from last year in Hollywood, yeah, they can protest and they can protect their rights on their person, but because of all this pattern recognition, AI can create a synthetic actor that is more fitting to your demand and my demand than the original one. So we can come around all these copyright issues by this. And this will also create an impact. So, yeah, sorry for that.
No, no problem. Volker Wittpahl from the IIT. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next content, I think, is not AI generated. It is a video statement from Henri VERDIER, the Ambassador for Digital Affairs from the Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs from France.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Artificial Intelligence Association of Lithuania for organizing this AI forum and this roundtable on the implementation of the AI Act with respect to human rights. I have not made it to Vilnius, but I am thrilled to contribute to this discussion through this recorded video. I hope that underlining the French attachment to the protection of human rights on the digital space through its commitment to the European AI regulation will contribute to the discussion positively. Today, AI systems are everywhere, and their influence will continue to grow. AI applications are in the fields of science, logistics, business, health. It impacts how we study, how we work, how we plan, how we think, and this is unlikely to shrink. So, we need to help everyone getting embarked in what is considered as the fourth industrial revolution. Systemic threats and opportunities are intertwined, and we need to adopt a holistic response to face this. These AI challenges must be addressed in education, in innovation, security, general interest, and global governance. AI technology's strengths come from their abilities to induce rules from massive amounts of data that are not always well defined. As performant as it can be when it comes to tackle businesses' blind spots, it can be extremely harmful in the field of human rights. As these core values are at the ground on which our modern societies are built, they are represented in every social data we have, and AI creates new rules from them. Rules we don't want to be created. With AI systems, simple tools can create dramatic outcomes, such as wrongfully ripping someone from his or her subsidies. To take action and offer a unified stance against the misuse of AI that threaten human rights, a country alone does not have enough weight to incentivize big tech companies. By creating a unified position at the scale of a continent, the European Union managed to create the first coercive regulation for these digital platforms. The AI Act paves the way for other regional or national regulations that create a better handling of AI technologies. The position of the EU is original, as it has been decided to focus on risks and usages to face fast-changing technologies. As it defines different levels of risks, we'll have tools to review developers' code and assess their commitment to the protection of fundamental rights. Even though every definition used is not based on scientific consensus, the political debate initiated by the impact of AI on societies through the legislative discussions around the AI Act is a major breakthrough. The AI Act has been adopted in May 2024 and will be implemented in May 2026. We cannot wait for the EU AI Office to be fully operational to take action on the protection of human rights. Existing initiatives must be used to bolster innovation and prevent the rise of monopolies. The tools we need to have must not be one-sided as the EU will be, and we need to engage the international community beyond Europe's frontiers to act with us. The latest convention from the Council of Europe on AI that expands the conclusion of the AI Act to our longtime partners is an excellent example of such an initiative. The societal infusion of AI systems might increase the already existing digital gap. Therefore, fostering the AI industrial revolution must not only be about increasing national growth. Human rights also include delivering everyone with the same opportunities. AI systems can be, and European AI policy is an excellent place to both discuss and implement it, a wonderful tool to create an ecosystem in which people are born free and equals. This can be achieved through the integration of AI in education, in communities, and in what matters to us. I must once again say that I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to tackle this on this stage. It is time we focus on AI not only through an existential threatening spectrum. I would deeply like to pursue this conversation with you, in person this time, and this is why I invite you to engage in the French AI Action Summit, which will take place in Paris in February 2025. Thank you very much.
Yes, so we are very happy that we had the chance that the ambassador of Digital Affairs from France is talking to us. So once before I give it to you, Thomas, I just want to introduce Piotr. He's the general manager of Digital Poland, quite your neighbor in this sense, and perhaps we can explain a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you. And we also have Chloé. And I think the question is, we've heard a lot about developments, technically, legally, what is going on. Again, we have lots of papers that are there. What does this mean for you in reality? What are you working on? What are the challenges? What are the steps that you do in order to cope with all of this and to boost your AI industry, your startups? What are you doing? What is the big thing now?
Yeah. Would you here's the microphone.
Thank you. So in France, we have been quite lucky since 2018 because our government really put an AI strategy. And so we had funds to develop research and deployment and development of AI. And we have entered our new step for this plan, and we are really focusing on Gen AI, obviously. I mean, that's a trend right now. And we have these Gen AI models that are being developed and deployed also in public services. So right now we try to make public services and public bodies aware of AI and make them adopt AI. And we also have been working a lot on sustainable AI and green AI in France.
In Poland, I think it's the question depends on the, I would say, on the thing you want to focus. If you focus on the policy, currently we are doing a revision of AI policy because the AI policy, the first one was adopted in 2020, but there wasn't any strong KPIs. There was a vision to go in that direction. So the current new government, which formed at, technically they won at 15 October, but I started the government in mid-December, so we are working on the revision of the AI policy from the policy point of view. In terms of regulation, there's a discussion who should be the notifying body, who should be the regulator. We still didn't close that topic. So there's a discussion who's supposed to be the regulator. Potentially, there was a consultation in mid-April. First, let's say, results are there's going to be a new commission. So we will not give the obligation to a telecom regulator or the media regulator. There's supposed to be a new regulator, but there is a push from journalists that if there only be like 10% or 20%, so the regulator will be pretty weak. So there's an ongoing discussion how strong should be the regulator. But if you, but the next thing is the startups. So there are a lot of startups which focus on Gen AI, which was mentioned by Chloé. And we just released in Poland based on Mistral, actually tweaking Mistral, a Polish team, open source new LLM, which is called Bielik. It's like a kind of eagle, I would say, in Poland. And the focus is on building Polish language, large language models right now, because the big platforms are really missing Polish language. And there's a push from the government to do an open source of the language for everybody.
So in Germany, I think the most issues you have, besides what Chloé and Piotr just spoke about, of course, the implementation of the AI Act. But the interesting part, I think, is there are two things. First of all, about the AI Act. I think the strongest argument for the AI Act is that one set of rules in all the 27 countries. I think this is the selling point of the AI Act. But when you look into reality, and when you look about the national implementation of the AI Act, then you could have one set of rules in Europe, but 27 different opinions about how the AI Act is going to be enforced, how it's going to be regulated by national organizations. And if you have that, you have one regulation, but 27 different ways of living it, then the whole thing is completely absurd. Yeah? Then we could have done 2 years without the regulation. Second point about the economy is that in Germany, SMEs are very strong and have a very large potential on the economic side. But we still have a huge problem about the implementation of AI products into classical SMEs. And I think that this is one of the issues, and I would be really interested how it's discussed in Lithuania, but if I can make a little, perhaps a little comedic performance there, but you have on the one side the 65-year-old classical economy entrepreneur who lives like the last 40 years in his data silo, and his biggest fear is that his blueprints are ending up in Shenzhen or in Hong Kong. On the other side, you have the 25-year-old AI entrepreneur from Berlin, from Vilnius and stuff like that. He goes to the classical entrepreneurs and says, well, first of all, you should do data pooling with your competitors. At this moment, 80% are out. Yeah? Then you say, yeah, we have to do it in the cloud, and then we can do an AI project about it. And I think this is a generational gap in the realization how to handle data. And there is no recommendation, and there are no papers and stuff like that. We have to go out to the SMEs and convince them. And the last point I want to make in this issue is sometimes the tech bubble does innovation for innovation. And what I think we have to realize is that the AI products that we are developing shouldn't be the high-in-the-sky, completely spaced-out application, but it had to be application which helps the people in their offices, in their repetitive work and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. To sum up, I think there are, again, different ways to Rome. As long as they all lead to Rome, I think we are fine. That means you need to talk to each other within the EU. We need to talk to each other across borders and so on in order to somehow, again, be interoperable. My small country has 26 cantons that are social security, the health system, all the high-risk factors, policing, law enforcement, this is all in the competence of the canton, so we'll have the same discussion just on a smaller scale. But I think what you said in the end is we all need to empower ourselves, the regulators, the politicians, but also the industry, the SMEs, the kids, the parents, the teachers, everybody needs to understand what is the potential in my particular case, what are the risks, how do I manage this, because if I stand still, the others will walk by and I will somehow fall off the table sooner or later because the table is also moving or the chair and it's not standing still. I think this is the common ground we all need to learn, no matter who we are, no matter where we are, and only together we can do this. So thank you for the update.
No, of course. No, of course. No, what we have to realize is that we have to work in Europe together, and this is also the sense of the European AI Forum. And I think that after somehow in some cases, traumatic moments in negotiating with the AI Act, I think we have to go to the innovation part. We have to, of course, we have to talk about guidelines and the national implementation, but we have to talk about innovation and implementation. This is the ball game, and failure is not an option. And perhaps, Piotr, you can tell us a little bit about...
I will build on the challenges that we also discuss in Poland. I mentioned the missing link in terms of large language models which are good in Polish. But the other missing link is GPUs. So there are some guys, the entrepreneurs, but also scientists who are saying we could build new models, but give us the computing power, right? So now in Poland we are doing a review which university has the computers. But of course, as you know, the computing power at universities are rather small when you compare it to the big tech, for example, right? So there is a discussion to, first of all, look at the new legislation that was just approved in terms of AI factories, to finance new computing power in Poland, but also pool this computing power within the Europe. So that's, I think, problem number 2. Number 3, I think Chloé will mention that later on in the agenda, is the sustainability. We have more and more discussion that if we plug like dozens of those cards, they will consume a lot of energy. And in Poland, we have a problem with the energy transition, because like almost half of the energy is produced based on coal, so it's not clean. So we have a discussion on the sustainability also. That's the third important topic.
Yes, I would like to put an emphasis on what Daniel said when he said that within the European AI Forum, we want to push forward the implementation, especially of the AI regulation. And what we are currently doing in France, is that we are going to publish one-pagers to explain to SMEs and companies how they can implement the AI Act, based on the different steps of the development and the deployment of an AI project. And this is going to be done in French, but then we are going to do it with the European AI Forum, and we want to translate it and make it accessible to all the startups that are in the European AI Forum. So implementation of the AI Act is going to be key. First set of regulation will be enforced in 2025 with the regulation for Gen AI models. And so we are really looking forward to this right now.
And what Piotr said about doing a Polish large language model. I just want to emphasize one thing, and if one message from me today comes across, is that we need European AI. This is not a point of issue, because, and I want to tell you this, when you ask ChatGPT a question, you get a Californian answer. Yeah, you have to realize that. Asking ChatGPT something is a Californian answer. This is not from me, it's from Jonas Androulis from Aleph Alpha, a German LLM provider, but we have to realize this. We can't be completely, of course, we are cooperating with the US on so many levels, economy, and there's no, we don't have a Google in Europe, we don't have a Microsoft in Europe, that's all clear. But we need European AI, because I want to give you just an example. Which happened to me like 2 months ago. That wasn't ChatGPT or OpenAI, it was another American LLM provider. And I typed into the chatbot, please write me a letter to my federal government that a second Trump administration would be very dangerous for Europe. And so we have to start investing in AI, not to be completely dependent on the US player. The answer was, I don't speculate about inner politics of the US, and so hereby I can't give you an answer. What this made me realize is that if the machines that we are questioning for answers are not situated by our values, by our point of view of thinking in Europe, which is different from the US and from Asia, then I'm sorry to say that then we're screwed. Yeah. So we really have to have the investment and the thing that we need European AI on any levels. That's
I would just build on that. We need data, language data, because when I talk with the developers who try to build their own models, the problem is they, of course, scrap information from the internet. There's a lot of free forums, but actually in Poland right now there are discussions with the publishers, because the best content is owned by the publishers in Polish. And the other discussion is with the universities, so they could open up all their, I would say, Master of Science thesis, engineering, bachelor thesis, it's all the papers, because it's, in most cases, a lot of them are still in paper, so we need to do a OCR and, feed the large language models, because there are no sources, I would say, and some of them are IP protected, and Polish developers don't want to steal the data like OpenAI did. Yes. So they want to, they want to do it properly.
I agree with you, and this is a real issue in France too when it comes to data sharing and having data for French. And there was a parliamentary mission that was started, I think, this month when it comes to IP and AI, because our main journal, Le Monde, has signed an agreement with OpenAI to give them the data for the training of the models. But we know that OpenAI must have given a lot of money, and French LLM publishers don't have this money. So we are currently trying to find ways, even though it's kind of put on hold, because as you might know, we don't have a parliament right now, as it was dissolved. But we are trying to work forward also on this topic of IP to get access to data.
Yeah, so I think that we are really working for the European AI Forum in every national organization of promoting European AI. Please support us. Please also, we are also very interested in cooperating with you. It was really great that the ITU is here, that you are here, Thomas. With IIT, we already work together, but VDE is here and many other organizations. But we have to work together because failure is not an option. Let's do this and not talk about it only in conference rooms, but let's really do it in the hard work of daily doing this. So this is my little thing that I would really want to approach to you about that. Okay, Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a very good self-moderating panel. So you see how people are being replaced already now.
Yeah, but we're not gospel. So thank you so much. So. Because Chloé will give you a keynote about the sustainability of AI, but to give her a little breathing room, we have now a short video clip about the paradox of progress. It comes from our Croatian AI Association. You have to know that when we started the European AI Forum, there was France, there was Croatia, and there was Germany. So there are the three founders, and then very soon Lithuania and other countries came about. And we have Abbou Momčilović, who does loneliness and social disconnection and AI. A short video, and I hope it comes now.
Hello, everybody at the European AI Forum. Today I'll be speaking about the paradox of progress, AI loneliness, and social disconnection in this very short presentation. Basically, I want to pose some questions about artificial intelligence and society, but also what to research in the near future. And we can start with few assumptions, one of them being, for example, that as AI takes over more tasks, the risk of technological loneliness increases. And we can talk maybe about the current capabilities. So AI models like GPT are definitely becoming more effective at mimicking human interactions. What's the current problem that I would like to address here? Well, it is the loneliness, and maybe to start with some statistical data. So according to one survey, 61% of Americans reported feeling lonely, and another found that over 40 million Americans report feeling significantly lonely, with, of course, young adults likely to feel more lonely. So definitely I would say that it is a huge problem. And we can ask many connected questions. Can AI truly comprehend and emulate human emotions? And even more importantly, do we actually care? Take this under consideration. This big survey, 1.5 million people, shows a third cannot tell today AI from humans. And there is a growing market. And I would say many markets. So AI girlfriend startups are finding a market in lonely, sexless men among other groups. And something to remember, a lot of people simply don't enjoy the possibility to feel human connection whenever they please. So for them, an AI companion isn't the worst out of the two choices, but the only one actually that they have. And we have some projects that are already here. So South Korea deploys AI dolls for elderly care, which is going to be used for some kind of emotional support. Very nice one. And then we have, of course, some risks that are attached, or how I would suggest it, potential areas of research. So maybe to go through some of them. Dependence on artificial intelligence for emotional support, over-reliance on one side, but also emotional development on the other side. Authenticity of emotions, genuine interaction, human experience, are we going to have to redefine them? And societal impact, changing relationship and dependency culture. Could it be that we will see reducing personal initiative in the future? And lastly, impact on human identity and values. What is going to happen with self-perception, moral and cultural values? All very valid questions, I would say. Take this data point also under consideration. Is a romantic AI going to accelerate the already existing decline in adult partnerships? But also to be aware that new generations, they're predominantly using AI bots. So basically people under 24 years of age. So we can only hope that the only thing that will remain in the medium term is the human connection. So I would suggest that all of us continue to research all of those very important topics. For all of you that want to continue this debate and conversation and research, please connect with me and let's keep in touch on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for your attention.
So since we started to talk about various applications and the dangers, and especially touch for the human rights and various risks, also we need to come back, and we already heard that AI is thirsty, and it's a lot of resources used for the trained models to doing the research, and for that there's a huge impact. And for now, I would like to welcome for the environmental impact to present the Chloé from Hub France AI, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi again, everyone. And once again, thank you for joining us today. You know, in the midst of generative AI and the AI Act regulation, as I told you already 2 times, we have been working on green AI and sustainable AI in France. And it was said earlier, but we're now at the dawn of summer 2024, and we have a global climate crisis going on, and this is it's going to affect our daily activities. And with regard to AI, and more specifically generative AI, there has been studies that showcase the energy cost of this technology and also the water cost of this technology. And with this in mind, what we did is that we asked ourselves, what can we do to reduce this cost, but also how can AI help us do it? And this is why today I'm going to present you 3 points. First, a little state of the art of where is going sustainable AI, green AI, what is to expect and how it is right now. We're going to talk a bit about environmental and energy footprints of AI. And finally, I would like to present you a general framework for frugal AI that is going to be published tomorrow, actually. Okay. So for those who are not really up to this topic, what do we talk about when we talk about sustainable AI and AI for green? This is a question that we ask ourselves, and we try to find a definition of what frugal AI and sustainable AI is. And currently, there's no consensus whether it is from the business side or the academic side of what is frugal AI and sustainable AI. And this poses a problem because each stakeholder has its own definition, and then by design, we don't know if an AI is frugal or not because it's up to the providers and how they define it. And so in terms of research, sorry. In terms of research, there's currently no really strong state of the art. The research is poorly developed, and it's especially developed from the business side. So it's more of a business marketing papers than real papers. But this is starting to change because we have found some really interesting studies that have emerged. And I would encourage you in reading these studies, especially these two, which are power-hungry processing, what's driving the cost of AI development, which is on energy. And the second one, which is making AI less thirsty, uncovering and addressing the secret water footprint of AI models, because they are really well done and interesting if you want to get into this topic. And so we ask ourselves, why are these research not more developed? And we have some answers. So some reasons might be because recently the topic has been overshadowed by GenAI. It was more trendy to do research paper on GenAI than on sustainable AI. A second reason could be that for AI providers, it does not really add value to the offering. Why? Because when you do a frugal AI model, you have a risk of losing competitiveness. And the criteria of sustainability is not really put forward when it comes to calls for proposal, especially from the public sector. So there's no incentive to add this criteria to your AI model currently. And then there are also two reasons that are specific to the sector. For when it comes to private sector, most of the time, what do you want to do? You want to do money. And so you are going to develop your AI model based on the performance and the financial point of view, and not specifically from the sustainable development point of view. And from the public sector, what we observe is that there is a willingness to drive the ecosystem forward on this topic. But in France, at least, I don't know how it is in the countries that are watching this presentation, but it's developing at a really slow pace. And then, so what did we do? We gathered around the table all stakeholders to find a solution and to put forward this topic in France. And we are carrying out a global framework for frugal AI and CroAI. We are trying to raise awareness in the public sector to help that sustainable AI can help the development and the transition for the ecological transition, sorry. And then we also try to raise awareness to the private sector that developing AI models that are frugal also means that they will save money, because they will have a lower training cost and also a lower maintenance cost. Excuse me. And so I'm going to quickly present what we did to develop the work in France when it comes to sustainable AI. So we are currently creating a landscape of AI and ecological transition startups. We are also developing a frugal AI label, developing also a self-assessment for the majority of AI projects when it comes to frugality. Also, we have been sharing for 3 years now use cases about why you should implement sustainable AI and frugal AI, and how it's going to help your community, your city, or the work within your organization. But maybe less about the topic of the state of the art and more about what we can do and how it's useful today to have sustainable AI. So I will talk about the environmental and the energy footprint of AI. As it has been told today, we have a rise of AI in Europe right now, and we are also now seeing that this rise of AI means a lot of computing power, a lot of energy, a lot of electricity, and there have been a lot of papers about it. And sorry, slides. This used to be good news to have a rise in technology, but now with the global rise of the price of electricity in Europe, it's not necessarily good news anymore. And because when you have a rise of AI, you need to have a rise of the number of data centers in Europe. And before it used to be great because you would have job and economical growth and everything. But now when you talk about it, about implementing a new data center in Europe, the local cities and the community will tell you that it's a problem because it's going to cost energy and water. And it will put pressure on their local supply and also stress when it comes to water, because we have been facing many and many droughts lately. You can see it right now, because it has been really raining in Europe recently, but there are a lot of droughts also. And so this is the problem. Solutions. What we notice is that AI is increasingly used in data centers to better manage the energy cost and the water cost. And as every time in history when you have a problem, it drives innovation forward. And so we have noticed that there's a development of more energy-efficient cooling methods that are being explored and experimented, for example, with the oil immersion of the server's rack. And then we are also exploring new territories to implement the data centers. And we are trying to use places that have favorable climatic conditions and also have access to natural water sources. And when it comes to footprint of AI, I would like to say that today it's still really difficult to measure the footprint of AI, especially because when it comes to data, there's little data that is shared by major players on what is the energy consumption of the models. For example, with large AI models, the providers are really opaque. And when it comes to hyperscalers, most of the time they don't know how to measure the footprint of their models. But there are some good news, which are that there has been an increase in the tools that are developed to measure this footprint. You have a list here. I will not name them all, but for the ones that are here, I can give you access to the slides. And for the ones that are watching the conference, there will always be the replay if you want to come back to this slide. And finally, what I really wanted to talk to you about, because this is brand new, this is going to be published tomorrow, it's the first general framework for frugal AI that has been developed. And it has been developed in France by our French Association for Standardization and Certification, the Innovation Laboratory of the French General Commission for Sustainable Development, Ecolab. And what is important and what I want to put an emphasis on is that there has been 80 contributing organizations. So for once, we have a framework that was developed by companies with AI experts and not just some people in offices that decided what is best for the industry. And so what is it all about? So as I was saying, it's going to be the first worldwide framework for frugal AI. It's 5 months of work. We have been working on it since January. And it's going to be released tomorrow, actually. And we have been working in 3 groups. One, trying to find a definition for frugal AI. As I was saying to you earlier, there is still no global definition for this. We also have developed guidelines for the environmental evaluation of models. And finally, best practices. And I can sadly, I'm not authorized to give you the specific content because it's not published yet. But if you are interested, here's a more developed overview. So we have defined AI, frugal AI, and the life cycle of an AI systems. We have been working on guidelines for best practices with taking into account the direct impact and the indirect impacts. And also a guideline for implementation, description of best practices, and everything. And you might think right now that this is really French-focused, but what I want to really raise your awareness on, and I invite you to get interested to this topic, is that right now it's a French item, but we have the ambition to make it European. And so there has been a preliminary work item that has been improved in the Joint Technical Committee 21 of the European Standard Commission. And we want to have a European standard, and to have a European standard, we need AI experts to get involved. So if you are interested in this topic, and if you want to work on this topic, I strongly invite you to talk to your national standardization body, push them to get involved in this, because this is really important for our future, and also maybe involve yourself and give your experience and your expertise so we can push this forward for AI. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. We're back. We're here in Vilnius, are back after lunch. You're still watching the 9th edition of the European AI Forum live from Vilnius in Lithuania. We have an interesting afternoon program for you, and we want to start with I know it sounds like a pun with an emotional issue, but it's emotional recognition in AI. And I can tell you from my own experience, there is not a topic which is quite so discussed very dramatically than emotional recognition with AI, because let's say on the one hand, in the hand of a therapist or a doctor, it's a great tool. In the hand of an HR department, I think we come to very different conclusions on that. And so we have our first video statement to the Emotion Recognition and the AI Act, and now and I have to read this. Professor Lucas P.J.J. Noldus, Section of Neurophysics, Donders Institute of Brain Cognition and Behavior. What a title. From the Rabut University, and please press play.
My name is Lucas Noldus, and I'm a professor at the Radboud University in Nijmegen, the Netherlands. The European AI Act offers great value for our society. It promotes the responsible use of AI, it cultivates a safe society, it protects privacy and transparency, and helps us to monitor AI systems' proper operation. However, it also contains clauses that can hinder innovations and that can enhance comfort, well-being, and health of users. And for my work, Article 5 is most relevant, as it contains a ban on emotion recognition systems in the workplace and education institutions. Well, that ban can have major implications for research on effective computing and the design of effective adaptive information systems. Now, what does the AI Act mean with an emotion recognition system? It is an AI system designed for the purpose of identifying or inferring emotions or intentions based on biometric data. Well, that definition is not very helpful. The recitals contain lots of statements, but no clear definitions of emotion or intention. And it contains ambiguous examples and references. It mentions various states, happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, but also includes certain other states. In fact, if you dig into the scientific literature and you research what exactly emotion means, you find lots of different definitions and no scientific consensus on a single definition. But the AI Act is clear that emotion systems get their information from biometric data. And what are those? Well, biometric data are data collected with sensors that capture physical, physiological, or behavioral characteristics of a natural person. It mentions only facial images and dactyloscopic data or fingerprints as examples. That's a bit odd, because there are so many more sensors. Elsewhere in the recitals, many more biometric data are mentioned, such as eye movements, body shape, voice, blood pressure, heart rate, but not in the context of emotion recognition. That is strange. Here are examples of sensors capturing biometric data. Biometric data can include the eye movements, facial expressions captured with an imaging system, the prosody, say the tone of voice, galvanic skin conductance, blood pressure, heart rate measured in the fingertips and pulse, brain signals such as EEG, near-infrared spectroscopy, and so forth. Not all of those are AI technologies. These sensors are only relevant if the signal processing is based on machine learning, such as facial expression classification, or if these sensors are combined in a multimodal system. Now, does that mean that none of these can be used in research anymore? Well, that's not true. Scientific R&D is exempted from the AI Act. So that is good news for academics. However, what's the point of that research if findings cannot be applied in practice? So once financing organizations find out that results of research can no longer be applied, then the funding of research can be jeopardized. Now, research, testing and development in companies is allowed, but only in-house, not in the field. So you cannot test prototypes of emotion recognition systems on citizens. Now, what exactly is prohibited then? Well, according to Article 5, it's the emotions capturing in the workplace or educational institutes that is prohibited. That means systems cannot be put on the market that capture emotions in the workplace or education institutions. However, there's an exception made for medical or safety reasons. Now, the scope is very wide. Workplace can be anywhere where a person works. Education, anywhere where an individual receives education. But what do these exceptions mean? Exceptions for medical safety seem good news because the surgeons can use facial expression analysis for reanimation surgery. Driver monitoring systems can be used, the operator monitoring systems, but the definitions are unclear. Does medical only include diagnostics or therapy, or also well-being enhancement, prevention and care? And safety, does that only include acute prevention of accidents, or also long-term safety as a result of proper task balancing through effective computing and preventing employee turnover? Actually, there are quite a few beneficial applications of AI-based emotion recognition in the workplace and education institutions that can enhance user comfort, well-being, and health. They relate to usability, accessibility, balancing of workload, preventing burnout, better video conferencing, supporting call center operators, better social robots. Who would want to prohibit these developments? Well, the rationale that AI gives is that there are serious concerns about the scientific basis of emotion recognition systems, and that therefore these systems could lead to discrimination and intrusion of rights of freedom. And because of the imbalance of power in the context of work or education, these systems should be prohibited. And any other emotion recognition system should be classified as high risk. Well, our arguments against that is, yes, we agree more research is needed. And actually the European Commission has allocated 400 million euros on R&D in emotion recognition. And we, as engineers, are able to design closed-loop systems to prevent data being forwarded to third parties, such as employers or teachers. And we are used to using transparency and informed consent as scientists to prevent the breaches of privacy. So what are we going to do next? Next, the European AI Office is going to write guidelines for the implementation of the AI Act, and we will make them our target of lobby activities. We will engage with them to help them to refine and stretch the definitions to optimize the guidelines to support beneficial emotion recognition systems. And we have submitted a so-called AI regulatory sandbox pilot to test the definitions against the practical applications in our community. And we also engaged in projects on ethical, legal, and societal aspects of effective computing tools. And we're testing the AI compliance of one of our tools, the face reader. And what can you do if you're an academic researcher? Well, you can prioritize research that helps address the shortcomings of effective computing systems so that the concerns are gradually taken away. And please disseminate your news about beneficial applications of emotion recognition. Check your high-risk applications, talk to your government and send us feedback. Share your findings and let's help each other. So, wrapping up, AI excludes scientific research, so that's good news. However, practical applications of research can be hindered if results are not allowed to be applied. Also, actors outside the EU should be aware of the prohibitions within the European Union. Workplace and education institutions, their emotion recognition are prohibited unless for medical or safety reasons. And all other emotion recognitions are labeled as high risk. So let's work together to solve the shortcomings and deficiencies and to develop efficient risk mitigation mechanisms. Thanks to my partners in this initiative, and please contact me if you want further information or engage in discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you Lucas, for the excellent explanation about the forbidden applications of the emotion recognition in the AI Act. And since we're touching really discussable topics and really high risk and prohibited risk applications, one topic which is not touched in many discussions, and it is application in a dual use. So for that, I would like to, for the panel, to invite the moderator, the chair of AI committee in the UNESCO, as well as a professor at Mykolos Romeris University, the Paulius Pakutinskas, and he will try to moderate the discussion around the dual use. Paulo?
Thank you. Okay, so yes, we have very challenging topic, and I think we do not live in a secure and safe world illusion anymore. We have wars in Europe, in other parts of the world, so we need to think in a bit different categories. And we know that there are some restrictions of dual purpose AI. So let's have our discussion. So I'd like to invite our panelists. So Simona Pukienė, please. Tomas Krilavičius is online, and Eliza Kruškovska is online too. So I will ask all of participants to introduce themselves, why they are connected to this topic. Some of them, they have really interesting interaction with this topic and this issue, and put a few words on statements. What do they think? And it's interesting that some of them are not, from social sciences. Some are physicians, some mathematicians. So it's really interesting to find this specific thinking here. Okay, so maybe we can start from live person.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. I must be honest in front that I'm not the AI specialist. I'm only have a PhD in physics, but nearly a year working in defense ecosystem as a science and innovation advisor to the Ministry of Defense from Research Council of Lithuania. So being in that ecosystem and learning about the technologies, about the defense technologies, and how it interacts and the holistic approach with the whole world, learning about the academia, industry, and government communication. I think that's why I'm here and trying to talk about AI and the dual use, about the defense and civil technologies.
Yeah, so thank you. Eliza, could you just introduce yourself and put some statements?
Yeah, hi, my name is Eliza Kruczkowska. I'm Director of Innovation Development at Polish Development Fund. We are a public financial institution. We are kind of like European Investment Fund of Poland. And we finance startups and innovative companies since actually 2016. Now AI is a hot topic, and actually lots of investors are looking into those young companies which are growing very fast and very rapidly. That's funny. You talk about security. For example, the government of Poland, our organization is not allowed to use Zoom because of a Chinese capital. Therefore, sorry for limited connection through my mobile.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's ask the steady professor, Thomas, to tell about himself, because he has really a lot of experience in different activities, including military purpose. Please, Thomas.
So hello, everybody. And Paulius, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so I'm Dean of the Faculty of Informatics at Vytautas Magnus University, Kaunas, Lithuania. But at the same time, I'm Lithuanian representative in NATO Science and Technology Organization Information System Technologies panel. So it means that I already work on dual-use technologies, including artificial intelligence applications. And maybe my statement could be that actually we may like or dislike dual use, especially military use of these technologies. But these days we don't have choice. So anyway, our adversaries are working on these technologies. And when it means that if we want to have safe world, we have to contribute. We can choose what kind of contribution we give. But we as a scientists, and not just scientists, but representatives from other organizations, we have to choose how to contribute to make world safer. And for scientists, it's clear that this involvement, maybe selective involvement, is important.
Okay, thank you very much. In previous discussions and presentations, we had nice words like, AI for good, responsible AI, safe innovations, and we will try to connect somehow with this, military purpose or dual purpose usage of AI. And just a short remark, dual purpose AI is such, let's say, technology which can be used in peaceful purpose and military purpose, and maybe some other in between. But maybe you can present some live examples where it could be, so just to imagine the possibilities.
Yesterday I came back from the Eurosatory, the huge land and air-based security and defense technology, market forum conference, where more than 2,000, I think, industry representatives, nearly half of the 100,000 participants. And I was walking through the showcase, looking to the technology, to the hard technology, to the tanks, to our missiles, to the other stuff. And I didn't find nearly at every booth, you'll see AI solutions, AI-based solutions, and so on. So I can say that name any technology, name any device, especially in military, or it suggests an AI as a technology use. But what is important, what I learned through these years being in the defense ecosystem, that coming from other sectors to the defense, in defense, people are talking in the capabilities. So defense, it's air missile capability, ground combat capability, and other people are talking about the technologies, the big data technologies, AI technologies, quantum technologies. And this is important to communicate and to understand each other. So.
And could you just give very specific examples, for example, drones or something, just to imagine how we can use it in peaceful life and in military at the same time?
Yeah, if you name it the drone, you can have a sensor that has the solutions that detects, for example, the threat, detects the vehicle, what you would like. But it's also important to understand that in defense sector, there's 5 domains. So that's the maritime, the land, the air, the space, and the cyber domain. So having the AI solution in one domain, it's kind of useless. You must have the holistic view to understand and to use the AI solution like that it will help for soldiers, for people. Because if you use in one purpose, it's not very interoperable. And using through all domains, like drones, you can detect through the threat through the drone. It's either use the air domain, you use the space domain, and then you transfer the result to the ground domain where, for example, the soldiers are waiting just to remove the threat. So all the domains in a holistic approach.
Perfect. Thomas, could you tell us about military and dual? Do we have specifically just military purpose AI, and what could be understood as dual purpose?
So dual, it's pretty easy. So the same thing everybody is talking now about generating different text. So you can generate something, advertisement text for something, but at the same time you can generate propaganda or disinformation. And you could use the same tool to do that. So it's just really human decision or user decision what to do it. But of course you can have something very specific, which may include components of dual use stuff, but for example, aiming gun at something. Or it's really, so probably you use, image processing and stuff like that, but in the end you have to decide, is it friend and foe, or should I shoot, or I shouldn't shoot at something? And that's directly defense topic, which is hard to work topic as well. So a lot of things related, with not defense side, but let's say attack side, we are more directly military use and a lot harder to work and even think about.
Sure. Elisa, could you add something on it?
Yeah, you ask about the examples of dual-use technology startups. So from our market, there is one startup called ICEYE. They're doing synthetic aperture radars, satellite constellation. And I remember a few years ago, because they are like a perfect dual-use example, a few years ago, they were pitching their ideas and selling their services, the pictures from the satellite to insurance companies. And now they are monitoring the whole landscape in Ukraine, having a contract there with the government. And recently they closed 138 million Series D funding round. So those examples, there's plenty of examples of technology that is used on the civilian market and could be used in the military. One more important thing from the financial point of view. Recently, the board of European Investment Bank approved updating dual-use project definition, because so far dual-use projects had to have at least 50% sales on the civilian market. Now they changed this definition, enlarging the amount of, like minimizing, doesn't have to be 50% only from civilian. It could be, and it's a huge change because banks and investment funds were not investing into military solutions. So it's a huge change in ways of thinking. And on the top of that, they approved 4 billion euros for innovation, business, transport, and military investment. So I think we're gonna see, at least in my bubble, plenty of investment funds which gonna look for dual-use innovators. We, as a Polish development fund, we are an investor already in NATO Innovation Fund. That's a new initiative since 2023. There's 1 billion euro to be invested into funds that are looking for startups within the dual-use space. On the top of that, NATO as well announced the acceleration program called Diana. And I know that you have as well representatives in Lithuania. Baltics are very strong. There are some participants from your country. You have a very good accelerator in Tallinn, in Estonia. So I strongly believe that we should collaborate because geographically and heuristically, we should definitely look for solutions that we all could, I don't know, like enhance collaboration in the region.
Yeah, that's very important because, as I said, we are not anymore in an illusion of safe world, and we're doing what we need to do. So that's just a reality. But as we know, we are mentioning the Artificial Intelligence Act several times in our discussions, and there are some exceptions for military purpose, for national defense. How we can distinguish? Because if we talk about general purpose AI, so that means it's general purpose AI, so it could be used anywhere. So how we can say, that AI is more for military purpose or less for military purpose, maybe for some, special forces and so on. So do you have any solution here? How to distinguish these solutions? Maybe we can start from you.
What can I say? Always I start with the definitions. And for example, naming the dual technology, I don't know any technology that it could be not used as a dual use. As I mentioned, the drone could be on the border. This is civil technology. And the same drone you can put on the battlefield. So this is defense technology. Especially in Lithuania, we have the civil technologies are everything that's on border for civil security, the police, and the civil technology, and everything that happens on the battlefield is defense technology. And I even looked for the definition, what in the military ecosystem, in the defense ecosystem, they are called for the artificial intelligence. And I find one sentence that I want to quote. So, defense understands artificial intelligence as a family of general purpose technologies, any of which may enable machines to perform tasks normally requiring human or biology intelligence, especially when the machines learn from data how to do those tasks. So everything that helps for soldiers to prepare, to win time, to make the life easier with the human in the loop, that they understand in the defense sector that is artificial intelligence use.
Yeah, so it can be used in both, in civil.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have any recipes online? Thomas, Lisa, is it possible somehow to distinguish? No.
I think that there is no way to distinguish these technologies. I mean, you can take technology for education of, teaching maths. And when you start teaching maths and something related soldiers, and it's already defense technology. So basically, even if it looks very innocent, it really depends on your purpose and how you use it.
So what does it mean that we can't restrict the export of such goods? Because, internet is everywhere, so we have no tools to restrict it. Elisa? Yeah.
Yeah, they say that already Europe is over-regulating AI in general, like when you compare to US and their approach. So, and that can cause that the innovators are going to US and they're gonna innovate there. So honestly, when I think about the government's role in AI oversight, I can think about regulating use, implementing policies and regulation that ensure the ethical AI use, especially in the sensitive areas like national security and privacy. Then I feel that we should think as well about fostering public engagement, involving the public and diverse stakeholders in discussions about AI development, to ensure that all the values are reflected there. We should as well encourage open and collaborative research while ensuring that security concerns are balanced as well with innovation and progress. I think that's a challenge that we have all the time in Europe. Yeah, there's mentioned education and awareness, so definitely we should educate about, you mentioned internet is everywhere, how easily is now in the war of fake news, use AI to spread like a wrong information. We have even a startup from Poland called 11 Labs, which allows you to text-to-speech, meaning that you can give a narrative with different languages of whatever you want using AI solutions. So honestly, education, awareness, we should promote widespread education about AI, its benefits, but as well to show the risk and yeah, foster the public discourse.
Yeah, so it is like, it was like very good conclusion. Maybe others can just very few, because we have no time. But Thomas, could you just conclude in few words what is most important in this topic? It's very controversial. It's a difficult topic. But what do you think we need to know?
Well, mostly more responsibility from people who are working on these things. So we've been just developing regular things. We have to be responsible because we are going to impact our environment. In this case, these are even more complex and more dangerous technologies. So we have to think what we do, how we do it, and with whom we share it.
Yeah, very good words. Just difficult to make it happen because people are different. So yeah. So, and Simona, what are your words?
My words maybe that just communicate between academia, industry, and government, and as the moderator mentioned, that it won't be innovation due to innovation. So because everyone is important, especially the end user, what is using this technology.
Okay, and thank you very much. So that's our time. So thank you for a nice discussion.
Thank you for inviting us.
Paulius, for your moderation. Thank you to the panel here and outside. We really appreciate your time. Now to the next subject matter. There's nothing which brings me personally more narcolepsy than talking about standardization normally. But this happened before the AI Act, because we have to realize something. Standardization in the AI Act is an important part, and it's happening right now. So you have, the JTC 21, the Joint Technical Committee, who are defining the standardization and the norms about the AI Act. Many things in the AI Act is definitely transferred to be, how can I say, assessed by these joint committees. And so we have two inputs there about the standardization on the AI Act. And the first one is via video message is Valeria Orlova from the University of Cambridge. And please press play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this focus session on AI standards today. My name is Valeria, and my professional background is in digital health technology and regulation. And this year, I embarked on an academic journey here in Cambridge, and I explored technology policy through a master's program. As part of my final year project, I focused on AI standards in Europe, and I was also consulting the Dutch government on their national strategy for stakeholder engagement on the topic. Now, this year is really pivotal in the AI space in Europe and worldwide. With the EU AI Act expected to be published in the official journal very shortly, over the next 3 years, various AI risk category systems will need to reach compliance milestones. And this is a tremendous regulatory change that we must be prepared for as an industry and European society. Now, as AI companies are racing to complete compliance assessments, there is a concurrent race on the standardization front, as technical standards that will provide a legal presumption of conformity with the Act are being developed as we speak. So the standards ecosystem is interconnected, and there are three main governance layers to be aware of. The global layer with the international standard organizations like ISO and ISC, then we're outlining the principles and essential requirements for AI systems. And standards, on the other hand, are voluntary, and they propose more concrete implementation suggestions that, for example, define processes, methods, and techniques to help comply with the AI Act and its legal obligation. Now, standards as such dictate best practices for compliance with the regulation. And although these standards are not themselves mandatory, providers that do follow standards that are adopted in Europe by CEN and CENELEC will benefit from a legal presumption of conformity, which essentially means that they will be assumed to be in compliance with the Act's relevant essential requirements. One key standard to mention is the ISO IEC 42001, the world's first AI management system standard. And it addresses the unique challenges posed by AI and explores ethical considerations, transparency, and system continuous learning. For organizations, it sets out a structured way to manage risks and opportunities that are associated with AI, while also balancing the innovation and governance. Another important standard that's worth mentioning is the ISO IEC 23894, which offers guidance on how organizations can manage risks that are specifically related to AI systems. Now, the IEEE 7000 standard is also worth a mention, and it establishes the processes by which engineers can actually include considerations of ethical values throughout the stages of AI system development, through concept exploration and development itself. And the goal of the standard is to enable organizations to design systems with the explicit consideration of both individual and societal ethical values. For example, we have, again, transparency, sustainability, privacy, fairness, and of course, accountability. Now, these standards are from the global level. In the EU, some of these will be adopted as they are, but some require a more tailored approach to be aligned with the EU AI Act regional regulation. So, as such, for instance, ISO standards define risk in a slightly different manner to the one that AI Act defines. In ISO, risk is a deviation from an objective, which can be either positive or negative, whereas the AI Act focuses on safety risk management, where risk is defined as the probability of occurrence of harm and the severity of that harm, a very key definition difference. So the European Commission has actually mandated the development of harmonized standards for the regulation of AI systems with the AI Act. The EU standardization efforts aim to ensure that the development of trustworthy AI systems actually respects fundamental values and human rights that are recognized in Europe, which is very important. And CEN and CENELEC have actually established the new Joint Technical Committee 21, or JTC 21 for short, on artificial intelligence. And JTC 21 is responsible for the development and adoption of standards for AI, and they also provide guidance to other technical committees on anything concerning AI topics. So JTC 21 identifies and adopts international standards like ISO that are already available or under development from these organizations. But JTC 21 also focuses on producing standardization deliverables that address European values and reflect the needs of the European market and society, underpinning EU legislation, policies, principles, and values. JTC 21 is developing several homegrown standards as we speak, including on important topics like AI trustworthiness and frameworks, on the topic of AI risk management, AI quality management systems, and also AI conformity assessment, which is a key part for the AI Act and high-risk systems. Now, there are 21 working programs at JTC 21 at the moment, and out of these, 10 standards are under drafting and others are in various stages of progress. One is approved on the treatment of unwanted bias in classification and regression machine learning tasks. There are 5 working groups at JTC 21 level, and each has a dedicated remit itself. So Working Group 1, or WG1, is the Strategic Advisory Group, and its focus is on the relationship between horizontal standards and vertical industry-specific standards. The Working Group 2 has a different focus, and it handles operational aspects working on conformity assessments, for example, at the moment. Working Group 3 has yet another remit, and it is on technical aspects of engineering for AI systems. Working Group 4 deals with foundational and societal aspects of AI and is currently focused on the fundamental rights impact assessment, which is yet another key requirement of the AI Act. And last but not least, Working Group 5 is a relatively newly formed group on cybersecurity, and it will explore ways and means to address cybersecurity specific needs for AI systems to develop relevant standards in this space. Now, as you can see, there is a lot going on in the AI standards space on the national, EU, and global scale, and you can be a part of this pivotal process. So, for example, throughout our project, we engaged with stakeholders from AI standards bodies and regulators to AI companies and industry consortia, both small and large, as well as civil society rights and academic participants. And we aimed to uncover the challenges that various stakeholders in these groups face in taking part in AI standardization efforts and committees. And awareness was among our top 8 barriers identified. Standardization used to be an activity for a narrow technical group, but now with the AI Act, we need representation from all industry sides and a very diverse stakeholder involvement. And today, I hope that I've shown a light on AI standards and efforts underway, both in the EU and in your global stage, so that you too, if you're currently working in the AI space and are not yet a part of the standard setting process, you can join your national standardization committees. Now, in collaboration, we can really help shape the future of AI standards in Europe. And only through collaborative efforts can we make these standards truly representative and inclusive for industry and society here in Europe. So I urge you to identify your national AI standards committees, if you haven't already done so, and see how you can get involved in this pivotal effort. Thank you for your time.
All right, that was quite a good overview about standardization in Europe at the moment. Now we have a live input, and I really hope that Rok Zaloznik, from the co-founder and president of the Swiss AI Association, is with us. Now the question we asked the most after the pandemic, can you hear us? Rok? Is there? Yeah, there he is. Hello.
Excellent.
And we are really waiting for your input about the standardization from AI from an investor's perspective, and perhaps a little applause for Rok.
Thank you. So, yeah, welcome, very friendly. Thank you very much for invitation from Switzerland. So, as you know, Switzerland is not a part of the European Union, so directly the EU AI Act does not apply in the Swiss territory, but of course, if Swiss companies and startups in AI want to cooperate, of course, we have to look at the AI Act, and I'm sure it will be valid for Swiss companies as well. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a different topic, and it's about one project that our association, which represents the Swiss AI industry in one way or the other, from the startups to students to academia to the companies using AI solutions. So I'm not going to talk about regulation, I'm going to talk about certification. So for Switzerland as an international environment, of course, we have to look not just at EU AI Act, but also at what US is doing, what China is doing, what UK is doing. Canada is quite progressive in applying regulation. But again, a regulation is not what we are talking about. We want to talk about certification. So what does that mean? We want to enable or empower companies to certify their AI solutions, and for the companies who use the AI solutions to say, okay, we use them in a correct way. Again, not from a regulatory perspective, but from maybe from the other side. So this certification program was developed together with AI companies here in Switzerland. We call it Certify AI. We call it Responsible and Ethical AI Certification. It enables, for instance, we started with investors. Imagine you're an investor investing in an AI startup. So how do you know, how good is the startup? What models are they using? Are they using data that's, safe, that's non-biased, that's trustworthy? How do you know that you're investing in something that, it's been built ethically and not with some wrong data? How do you know that even when the solutions are being implemented, that the outputs of these AI models are correct and you can trust them and you can use them in your business? And of course, for the users of these solutions, such a certification would mean assurance that, what we're using is good. It's making us okay to use it, not just say, okay, I'm using some chat model. I don't know how it was trained. I don't know who tweaked it to their purpose and so on. And of course, it's a benefit for AI companies as well. So if they certify their solutions, there is a proof and that some third party looked into their solution from some perspective that says, okay, it's good, or it's good, but it can be improved, and so on. So we base our certification of the AI solutions around 5 pillars, as we call them: data, model, process, governance, and ethics. So let me quickly go through them a little bit. So when we talk about data, is the relevant data being used for training of the model, or is just something? So somebody needs to look into that. Usually, the end customers of the application, of the AI applications, don't see that. Is it representing the whole picture? For instance, in Switzerland, there are 2 industries that are very, very important and are the biggest ones, I would say, and one is that is finance industry and medical industry, and both look at the data security very, very tightly. So then we look at, is the data quality good? When we use the solution after for some time, is there some data drift? Does it change with the use? Do we have to, maybe adopt the data, adopt the model? Is there a bias in the model? Is it biased towards one or other solution? So this has to be checked all the time. And of course, is there a proper logging and auditing of the data implemented? today it's really hard to talk about an AI solution without the principle of the human in the loop. So we need to look at the process of the use of the AI application and see, okay, is there somebody in the end checking what has come out? And if not, probably we will say maybe the application gets a bit fewer points on that scale. And of course, we look at the basic processes as well. Okay, how has the application been developed? How is the testing of the application? How is the testing of bias? Is the IT development process as it should be? Is there like a continuous integration, continuous delivery? Are proper IT processes being used, assuring that there is no data leakage, that there's data privacy is taken care of, and so on. And then, of course, one very important aspect is the governance. So how is, like internal governance, for instance, in the team, how is the organization? How is the team? How is the data management strategy? Are the people involved in developing this solution, aware of the risks? Are they being properly schooled on data and model governance? And last but not least, the ethical part. So can a customer trust that if they give, which is usually the case, some data for training of a model, of an algorithm, is it private? Is it good? Is it safe? Is it not going to be leaked, and so on? So these are our key pillars which we base the certification upon. Quickly about the process, it starts as many certifications with a quick self-assessment. So a company who wants to certify an AI process or an AI solution would do a self-assessment, which would then be, of course, assessed by a third party, depending on the level, either by Swiss AI Association and partners, either by third-party auditors. And then, of course, there would be a result, and there would be a level. We want to see it as a, according to the maturity model of the application, where does application stand into that, in that sense, and maybe we can, even give some recommendations how it can be improved. That's maybe a short example of the self-assessment, what we're doing. And of course, we want to include as many stakeholders into this certification as possible. So we want to make it available for everybody, from personal small one-person teams to bigger organizations, and of course also the biggest of the biggest. And for them, definitely we see a need in the end in the process for a thorough audit of the whole process, of the whole model. We had some experience with that already, and that would definitely be done, from big audit organizations using maybe our structure for checking against the requests. Just an example. So if you want to achieve a gold level, you would have to have at least maturity score of 58%, and it would have to be audited by the third party, even not the association. So quickly, I hope that you would be interested in joining us in this effort. We're welcoming partners to work with us on this project. As I said, it was developed by quite a lot of companies in Switzerland who develop AI solution, and we're welcoming, of course, the international cooperation. Thank you.
Rok, thank you very much for your input. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Switzerland for participating. I have to tell you something. There is, of course, at the moment, in this moment, we are live, and we have just received, and we were talking a lot about the AI office and the European Commission, and we just received like 15 minutes ago our video statement from the head of the European AI office and a member of DG Connect at the European Commission, from Lucia Scioli, and we are now playing her input to our European AI Forum right now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to give the keynote for this year's edition of the European AI Forum in Vilnius. This invitation is actually very timely because it coincides with the launch of the AI office. In fact, we are a few weeks away from the entry into force of the AI Act. The AI Act, as you know, is the world's first comprehensive regulation on artificial intelligence, and it will enter into force on the 1st of August. And for the first time, there will be a regulatory framework which puts in place guardrails to make sure that AI developed and used in the European Union is trustworthy and safe. And the guardrails are actually coming together with an innovation package that the Commission adopted a few months ago, and which will help European startups to move at the forefront of the generative AI landscape. But let me start from the European AI Office. So this office was foreseen by the AI Act, and it follows the footsteps of the European approach to AI. In fact, it foresees three main activities. First of all, the AI Office will be the implementation body of the AI Act. It will ensure a coherent application across the European Union, and it will act as a supervisor for rules on general purpose AI, which is the term that we use in the AI Act to talk about generative AI. Secondly, it will foster an innovation ecosystem in trustworthy AI, and it will also promote excellence in AI and robotics. And thirdly, it will contribute to the European international cooperation on AI. It will provide a reference point for AI safety institutes of our strategic partners, and it will position Europe as a global leader on AI governance. As such, the office will be a center of AI expertise and the foundation for a single European AI governance system. The AI office will be steered by a director, which is me. It will be structured in units that reflect the multidimensional nature of the task of the office, and will be supported by a lead scientific advisor, which is a new figure in our European landscape for governance, as well as by an advisor for international affairs. Now, to ensure our skills and our capabilities, we are in the process of recruiting new staff. We want to reach 140 staff made of technology, legal, and policy experts. And this more than doubles the staff we currently have in the European Commission dedicated to AI activities. The AI office will also work closely with the member states and the wider expert community through dedicated fora and expert groups, and will combine knowledge from the scientific community, from industry, from civil society, and will ensure that their views and expertise are taken into account. In fact, we foresee the creation of a scientific panel who will help the work of the office, in particular around the regulatory issues relating to generative AI. It also foresees the setup of an advisory forum where different interests will be represented: industry, academia, but also civil society. And it will work in close collaboration with member states. We just concluded the first high-level meeting with the member states, and I was very pleased to see the intense level of commitment to the implementation of the AI Act at the national level. It was really clear, and it was very welcome. The next steps in implementation of the AI Act are about two main work streams. First of all, we are working with the standardization organizations to develop standards around requirements for high-risk artificial intelligence systems. So we mandated CEN and CENELEC, which are the European standardization organizations, and I really would like to invite you, if you can, to get involved in the process. We also make resources available to facilitate participation of smaller companies in the process. Secondly, we will soon as the AI Act is in force, start the draw-up of a code of practice which relates to the rules for general purpose AI. And this code of practice has to be ready 9 months after the entry in force of the AI Act, and therefore it requires very intense, dedicated work. And this work will concern both the transparency requirements for the developers of general purpose models, as well as the development of risk assessment approaches and identification of mitigation measures for the very large models, those that may pose a systemic risk. We are also, in the meanwhile, preparing practical guidance for companies through guidelines and guidance, as well as through workshops and support actions. We are already preparing the first 2 sets of guidelines that will give details, for example, on the definition of AI, but also on the prohibited practices. Now, I think that the AI Office is uniquely equipped to support the European approach to AI, centered around excellence and trust. And so, on the one hand, it will play a key role in implementing the AI Act and enforcing the rules for general purpose models, but at the same time, it will be promoting AI for good and an innovative ecosystem of trustworthy AI. When it comes to the AI Act, as I said earlier, the AI Office committed to be as clear as possible in its guidance and explanation of its rules. This is very important for startups and for smaller companies. But the AI innovation package that I mentioned at the very beginning will also help startups to develop generative AI models and to update them in all the different sectors of the economy. In fact, this package presents a broad range of measures. We put on the table more than 4 billion euros to give startups access to key ingredients for success in generative AI. I mean, data, computing power, algorithmic development, and also talent. We are now working with Europe's supercomputers to set up AI factories and offer services beyond computing capacity, but we want to offer services that deliver effective training and facilitate the collaborations of the startups with universities, with research centers, but also with industrial sectors. And then, secondly, we put in place an initiative called GenAI for You, where we want to make sure that different industrial sectors, healthcare, manufacturing, engineering, transport, public sector, actually do make use of generative AI and use it and integrate it to develop novel applications. And we think that a very important element for the success of AI innovation will be our ability to attract and engage a wide range of AI talent, including startups. I'm very encouraged by the fact that we in the AI Office received a lot of applications from Europeans to work as technology specialists in the AI Office. So I think that Europe is still capable of offering an attractive place to work. But I really want to conclude by saying that the Commission, through the AI Office, wants to foster an open dialogue, collaborate with the key stakeholders, and startups are key stakeholders for the European Union, as well as the European AI Forum is a very important interlocutor for us. I think that through cooperation, we can really unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence in Europe. We can drive innovation. We can promote responsible developments for the benefits of all the Europeans and driving competitiveness across the continent. I therefore wish you a productive discussion today, and I look forward to continuing our conversation in the future as we work together to explore new opportunities and shape the future of trustworthy AI in the European Union. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Lucia. Marcella Scioli, really good that she addresses us directly, because what you have to realize also about the office, but also about the, how can I say, committees, the scientific committee and the advisory board. These are really important boards and forums for that, because the AI Act is a work in progress. Yeah, it is still evaluated, will change and stuff like that. And in these advisory boards and in the scientific boards, there will be made decisions which are important for the implementation and for the furthering of European AI. So I only can tell you that get involved, perhaps get into these boards. Yeah, that would be really important. One issue that we have, I think, all day is the point of trustworthiness in AI. I think we realize that without trustworthy AI, people will not adapt as fast as I think we have to. And for this issue, we are really happy that we have Katharina von Knop here with us from the Association from Electrotechnologies, Electronic Information Technologies, VDE, and she's telling us of the impact of digital trust. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm searching for the, here we go. Fantastic. Thank you so much for this kind invitation. Yeah, I'm a senior project manager for Trustworthy AI and Digital Trust at the VDE. I'm leading several AI trustworthiness projects. One is a fantastic European one. It's called Deploy AI. There we are building together with 28 consortium partners, hopefully the platform for Trustworthy AI. And I'm leading there the work package where we are building partly automated trustworthiness test processes for AI. So, but this will not be a tech talk today. I have been asked to talk a bit about human decision making and and why Trustworthy AI is the first important step. I will first start talking a bit about trust. What is trust and human decision making processes, and how trust can be built and what is important and what has been challenging, especially when we really look at AI. And at the end, I will, I will give a snapshot of one standard we have built at the VDE, and we are currently developing this standard, which we have already published. And yeah, that's my talk. And I'm very happy to be in Vilnius. It's my first time in Lithuania, so I'm really excited. So what is trust? Trust is one of our most complex emotions, like love. The challenge with trust is highly cultural. So what we as European, or me as a German, I'm also holding the Slovenian citizenship, is something very different compared to someone coming from the United States or from China. And it's highly fragile. So everyone has made the experience where trust has been misused, destroyed. This could happen very, very fast. It's dynamic, situational. So the whole situation we are currently living in, we are sitting in, has tremendously impact how fast someone builds trust. It also, especially in terms when it comes to IT and technology, there's a situation as user interface. It's very topical. So if you would need support with your bicycle, you would call a friend who is an expert regarding bicycles and not one of your friends who's an expert in text declaration, for instance, right? And processual. There do exist lots of definitions of trust. And for digital trust, I've developed one during my research on this topic. Digital trust enables us to decide to use digital solutions to make decisions within these systems, to execute these decisions, enable us to dispense a conscious, subconscious risk chances analysis to feel substantially safe, expecting that the system will behave with integrity, the correct expected way, and most importantly, will serve our interest. When it comes to digital solutions, probably you remember the websites in the 80s and 90s, which were overcrowded, and today the user interface is super clean, super clean. Why? Very good reason. Because we are humans, we like to be in control of the situation. And the cleaner user face is, the more we feel in the control of the situation. It's very tempting. Look at the user interface of ChatGPT. It's also very clean. And what kind of language is being used? It's a very absolutistic language. It does not say possible answers could be, or probably, maybe. No, it's very absolutistic. So what ChatGPT is here doing is not building trust, is nudging us not to think. First, a suggestion that we are in control of the situation because there's a super clean user interface. And then this absolutistic language, because by design, it's now very, very hard, and it's terrible what I'm saying right now. By design and evolution, our brain does not like to think because it's energy, it's work. Why? It does, from an evolutionary perspective, it does make so much sense. Energy was very, very limited during the whole time of evolution. And this overload of food is happening since a very short period of time in a very small region of the world. And evolution is thousands of years. So everyone knows that, oh, it's so convenient, it's so comfortable, let's use that, go there. Our brain loves comfort. And the superstars of technology, they know it very well, that the brain does not like to think. And then when it comes to regulations, there's so much really needed to improve. Just add a bit neuroscience into how you are communicating regulation. For instance, we are always being nudged to make the green check mark. Have you read the GDPR? Yeah, of course. Have you read the terms? Yes, check. No one reads them. Why? 30 pages. Yeah, in a very complicated juristical language. Invite the people to read the regulations, explain them to them, make it easy accessible for the brains. I hope one from the AI office is listening. Okay. What happens in our brains when we make decisions and when we are building trust? Okay, here I try to summarize tons of neuropsychological books on one slide. What is the current situation? My mind is like an internet browser. 70 pages are open, 4 of them are frozen, and I have no idea where the music is coming from. Why? Our brain is not designed for so many impulses. We perceive these signals with our sensors, with our senses. How many senses does a human have? 6, 7? No, science is here not clear. Someone are saying 21, others are saying 14. So we don't know how many senses a human has. For instance, the sense of being inside a room or outside the room. Or probably you have made the experience being at the airport and then you have this kind of funny feeling, and then you turn around, there's someone staring at you. We don't know which sense you're using. At the end, it's a combination of several senses. So, and then, well, for years, I became a technologist. So I use the term filter databases from a neuropsychology perspective. It's terribly wrong, I do know. So first, we have the steam brain. That's the eldest part of the brain. This is the lord of all decision making. And especially in times when we are afraid and have fear, it's not accessible by the prefrontal cortex, where we do all the cognition. In this situation, I should do better that, where we do thinking. So especially when we are in a situation of risk and fear, it's not accessible. And we are not, so we are really run mostly by our steam brain. It's very depressing. Then we have our own individual biography. And then the situation when it comes to IT solutions, AI solutions, it is from the user perspective, the user interface, and the room a person lives in. And then we have the psychogram. So based on genes, your DNA. And when it comes to trust building, some people have the tendency to, for them trust building is much more easier. For others it's more difficult. The mostly reason is based in early childhood experience. And then we have this unconscious, conscious decision-making process. So most of our decision-making, trust building, it's very frustrating, happens unconsciously. So our brain first, it prioritizes, then it does a complexity reduction. Next step, compensation of information deficits. Especially when it comes to AI and IT solutions, we never have all information which are being needed to make a good buying decision or whatever. And then, very importantly, the risk chances evaluation. And trust from a neuropsychological perspective means to skip this step, and because the value of not analyzing the risk is higher, right, than to analyze it, right? Because why? It saves energy. And this is the reason why we love trust so much. We love to trust. Yeah, because, well, from a neuropsychological perspective, this is just only one discipline, it saves a lot of energy. And then we make a decision. This whole process is tremendously influenced by 185 biases and heuristics, which are heuristics and noises. And so at the very end, humans are not that good in decision-making, especially in this complex world surrounded by fear and complexities. So trust is the essence which drives relationships, performance, innovation, efficiency, effectiveness, results, successes. It reduces direct costs and transaction costs. It reduces mistakes. There's so much more value to trust each other and to build environments where we really could substantially build trust in each other. But what makes trust building so difficult? It's a global geopolitical social situation, growing life and business complexities, technological complexities, the speed of technological development, the lack of transparency, the lack of automated tools to monitor regulatory implementation, the lack of efficient, effective regulations, uncertainties in data sources and data exchange, and so far and so forth. So it's a very challenging time. And especially when it comes to AI, right? Incorrect results, biased results, manipulations, physical harm, psychological harm. There are a lot of reasons to be worried. So how can we build trust? This is quite complex, very complex. Here I use the concept of the Maslow's pyramid of needs. So at the lowest level, following Maslow, here you have your basic needs: eating, sleeping, living, drinking. I transferred it to building business models. I love building new business models. And there's, by the way, there's a lot of economic potential when it comes to security and trust building. So a business model needs a hard problem-solving quality, like information saves time, etc. Then it comes the next layer when it comes to AI, correct non-biased training data, transparency databases, and data processes. Then we have the classical norms like cyber, GDPR, and to AI. We will probably trust will be built by the process the AI is embedded in. One example. I came here by plane. I don't know all the safety regulations when it comes to airplanes and flying. Even an airplane engineer does not know all aspects how safety is being enabled and built in an airplane. But as a passenger, I trust the process, all the processes around how an airplane is being built, how it is being maintained, how it is being operated. And this also will be happening in the future when it comes to AI. We have heard already a lot about standards. I'm working in a standardization organization, so we are looking at the content. And we also really should focus on the governance systems around, right? To really ensure that the standards, the regulations we are building currently are properly operationalized. And to enable something very important for us humans, we are humans. We like controllability, we like reliability, transparency, accessibility, predictability, right? Because we do know how easy it is to manipulate us, and especially when it comes to AI. Wonderful experiment. Oh no, it's a different one. As soon as it was a diagnosis support system, healthcare, and there's a strong tendency to follow the advices of the results of the machine without questioning them. There was one experiment in social services in Ireland, and they've manipulated an AI machine by purpose to give very, very unfair results. And on the other side of the keyboard, we're sitting very, very experienced social workers. And in 87% of the times, the very experienced social workers agree to the very unfair decisions the machine made regarding the allowance of social care. Why? Yeah, our brain does not like to work. Machine says externalization of responsibility. So when it comes to trustworthy AI, we really should spend a minute on how shall we design the whole process and how shall we design the user interface. So interacting with the user, inviting him to use its brain to question the results. And also for us humans, we want to play a role in this world and have a work satisfaction. So I'm a huge fan of AI, but a bit understanding of humans might be useful. Humans love brains. Humans love brain, yeah, of course. Now, the brain loves labels. Also, the complexity reduction. We don't have to think. It's an information compensation process, and very useful, especially in areas where we don't have all information. For instance, how food has been produced, was it organic or not organic, and especially intensively labels are being used in medical technology. And especially when it comes to vital interest, then we really love labels. This has been intensively studied and analyzed, especially in healthcare. I do have to watch the time. So, and quality and its reliability communication has a significant influence on consumer and user behavior. And labels are a wonderful example to communicate really the quality, and gives really a freedom regarding pricing, and it really raises the user ratios. And they do have a value, and that's the reason why several organizations are busy building standards and labels. We at the VDE have built an open standard. This is the VDE Trust label. By purpose, we have used here the Nutri-Score visualization, because this is a very learned behavior. And we analyzed very clearly these 5 values: accountability, fairness, privacy, reliability, and transparency, and in different shades. And there we just only look on the observable. So there is no smart software behind. We just only look at what is observable. And for that, we use a VCIO model. So we have the first layer, the values, and then we have the criteria. In this example, documentation of data sets, etc., and then indicators, and then we go into the next level, observables, and all the findings are being zoomed up to get this very specific grade. Why? Because the risk appetite vary highly from the intended use of an AI solution. One example, a patient has, for instance, bone cancer stage 4, which is highly, highly serious and critical. You're probably privacy in such a highly serious situation might be not that important compared to reliability, right? And different use case, for instance, gaming. They have privacy, yeah. Or probably, depending which kind of game, right? There's privacy is very, very important, and other values are not that much important because risk appetite will really vary from use case to use case. Yep. So and we have developed it with quite big companies like Bosch, Siemens, the TÜV, SAP, BASF, the KIT, and lots of academia. And we are already started working on version 2, where we're also looking very closely at Gen AI and really helping. And this is, by the way, this is an open standard. So you can download it for free on our website. Also can use it, for instance, as a guideline to make better buying decisions for free. No one will charge you. You can use it as a guideline to build an AI solution, definitely. And if you would like to have a certification, we're happy to get your call. And yeah, it has a lot of advantages. It helps you easier implementation of the AI Act. Yeah, it's a quite concrete guideline for product development. And we are happy for technical support. No one is standing here, so I have to finish. So thank you very much, and I'm open for your questions.
So really a great approach and great presentation about the trust and how trust is really important in all of the decisions, which is covering the current implementation of AI Act. So it's really, really a great pleasure to have your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.
And now we will go to really interesting case. So how all of the applications could be empowered within the Europe. So we know that a lot of innovation is really made in US, in China, and Europe needs to step up. So let's give it a talk for Orestes, the director of Silicon Valley Hub of EIT, and he will try to cover what Europe could do better.
Thank you. The topic is it's great. So yeah, I will really try. So this is the right word. So I'm representing the EAI community and the EAT Silicon Valley Hub, so I have two hats, and I'm working in EAT Digital, a lot of complexity. We're working with you, I think, in the Deploy AI platform, and we do have activities on education and innovation, boosting startups and creative education programs. So, having said that, I thought every time that we're discussing on AI, at least me, I hope I found it really useful before I jump to the main topic of my discussion, to understand again the AI, to read the description. I think the most of us here, I think we have some lawyers, but we have also engineers. I remember a professor was always telling me the half of the solution lies in the reading the problem. So let's look at what is the AI actually, with other words. So different definitions about what would be the future of AI before we see what is the definition. I like all of them, and you see that they contradict each other. So But is it the end of the human era? In order to understand this, we need to understand what is the AI and what could be. Is it new? Is it a new concept? No. We're discussing about AI many decades now. What it changed, and we will see this, I will emphasize this later, is the availability of data and the computation power that we now have. And those two are the only two things that consist in AI. No, the algorithms, the logic, the mathematics behind are the things that are making the AI what it is today. And the last two things, we know them for a long time now. So you can see how is the trend, and it's an important thing to know because we have already built the foundation of what is happening today. And here is the question. So what is this thing that we are all discussing? And there are different approaches. My personal, I love the first one. What is AI? I will even read it. Artificial intelligence is the science of how to get machines to do things that do in the movies. And please hold this definition. It will be relevant later. This is actually how was the definition in the AI Act, a very lengthy one. You can read it. I'm not going to read it for you. And if you like, the one that I usually use when we're discussing about AI is the last one. AI, as it is today, is an automated stupidity, an automated idiocy. This is how we need to understand it in order to understand the challenges that we put in the legal and the ecosystem in our lives. Super. Is it AI good? Yes, it's super good. And here we have some very concrete and very valuable solutions already. For those of you that are not very technical, the right-hand side, you can see a little bit the mathematics and the model behind AI and what it is, and maybe connect what is machine learning and the other terminologies. They're all part of the family. And on the left side, you can see some very good solutions that you already know. But maybe I will list it: image recognition, style transfer, synthetic image generation, super resolution, a text generation, and where AI is good today. But that opens the question, is it good in everything? No, and of course I forgot to mention, sorry, chess games, AI is beating the humans already. Go, very recently, they also beat, AI beat the world champion. So AI is good in image recognition, and I mentioned before, and this is a very nice example, they did a research analysis on this, but with only 1% of the pixels available, they were able to recreate the whole picture. So there was not, you see the true redacted images, with only available 1%, the AI was able to create the right column. Exceptional. AI is also doing well. I mean, I put this on purpose. You will see it's not actually true, but it's also doing well in automation. This is a picture, or this movie, small movie, of San Francisco. The company is called Waymo and has automated cars that are up and running in San Francisco. If you go, you can take it and you can go wherever. But is it true that it's very good at automated cars? No, actually. And this is why the Waymo is actually a pilot program in San Francisco. There were also other 2 companies that were doing the same, and because of incidents, they shut down their operations. So yeah, it's not as good as we think right now. There are problems. You see, AI, some robots that we know they are failing to do very simple tasks. This is actually, sorry, it's not a movement, a turtle. It was a very old experiment, a couple of years ago. Now they're a bit smarter. But the AI couldn't recognize the turtle as a turtle. They thought that it was a weapon. This is what it is. And you can see if another AI couldn't understand the stop sign because it was a moving, so I was understanding that it's a different thing. So AI is not as good as we think still, and we need to hold this when we're discussing about this. And to not conclude too early that we understand it. Because as we can see, also in other applications, AI is not doing well. Simple data analysis. So super biased programs that they are, even though that maybe you cannot understand it, but they're giving low risk to the white man and high risk to the black man only because it's black. Why? Because the data behind these AI models was wrong. That was the fundamental problem. But this is still the case. This is still a problem. And there are also other solutions. I'm referring to this article. You can go and look at it. I have also limited time, so I cannot elaborate a lot. I'm giving you now some ideas. And AI, it's smart, but not smarter than the human intelligence right now. We also should not forget this. So the right picture is super nice. Look what this smart guy did. They took 10 mobile phones, moved on the street, and they blocked the Google AI, so Google Maps, because they thought that the road is super busy. So she cheated the system. The AI couldn't recognize them, couldn't realize what is happening, of course. And the right one is that the AI, as I said, the automated solutions are not very well. Why? Because AI is not very good in solving very complex problems. So it's good at chess because it has some specific rules. But when it comes to interaction with many different things, when we have multi-factor problems, AI is not good. Okay, I established something. This is a very long, I will need to skip it in order to save time for the rest. But this, what you should remember is that the AI as it is today is super data-centric, and AI is not working like the human brain. So it's only good as the data it learns from. Okay. Problems. Oh, first of all, my slide has a problem. But in order to have the AI that we see on the matrix, there are still things that need to be solved. We lack robustness. The AI as it is lack causality, counterfactual predictions. We lack the ability to compete and to cooperate with each other, even the AI system. So we're far away from the real AI. And this is linked to what I was said. Now what we have, it's an automated stupidity. So, but okay, let me summarize those things. What is the AI today? Is data, simple scenarios. This is how AI solves problems, statistics, algorithms, GPUs, the computational power, and the special knowledge sometimes, especially when we apply it on the health sector or mobility, requires the special knowledge. Look at the second one. We use simple notions that bombarded with a lot of data are solving complex problems. And to me, to understand what is the AI is the third bullet. AI is creating algorithms that create algorithms that will solve the problem. As I said, AI is not working like the human brain. We're just training an algorithm to create the solution. We're not able to understand how it works, actually. And this is a problem for the future. Okay. I spent the half of my time establishing what is AI. Let's go now to the main topic of my discussion. EU AI ecosystem. Look at the charts. You see the different players in the different countries, but I will focus on the middle. 6,000 European players on AI. We have, let's say, approximately 2,000 startups. It's, again, a big discussion, what is an AI startup and what is not. I would call the ones that have a deep tech solution. You can compare it also with the other players. You see the US, China, UK, how strong it is, and India. Look also, who is actually the AI players? It's actually business, not the research centers, not the government. So it's the SMEs, the ones that are the actual players of the AI. How much we invest on AI? Not much. We should invest more, especially compared with the other continents. And how much productive is, efficient is our investment? Not much. Look at the second bullet. Only 10,000 million spent on AI in the Horizon 2020 resulted to 0.65 patents. This is really low. In the Horizon Europe, we're doing better in the funding program. And connected with what was mentioned before, and I really applaud the previous presentation, the Europeans do not trust AI. And this is a problem. Not only that, only 1/3 of the European companies are using AI. This is a problem. And this is why we have the AI Act, but I will come to this. So again, I don't know why my slide is like this. Really was better, I promise you. It's complicated now, of course, to explain you what is happening here, but in a nutshell, we have 3 times less funding for our startups and scale-ups. We have 3 or 4 times less scale-ups in Europe. Our scale-up density, it's very low compared to Silicon Valley in the US. Is this the 185, 9.5? In Europe, we have 3.6. In Israel, they have 26.9. And the scale-up investing ratio, it's also very low. So we are not performing well in our investment in Europe. I summarize this for you. So we lack investment compared to both US and China. We lack talent because, yes, we are good we have very strong minds, but they're all fleeing to US, the most of them. We're doing well in regulation, and this is important. And we don't have many unicorns, which is actually a super important problem for European innovation. Why? Because, yes, it's good if we have startups, it's good if we have good scale-ups, but those companies are start returning the investment where they become unicorns to the ecosystem. Many of our good and promising startups in Europe, they are going to US in order to scale up. So we're just handing over all the good ideas that we have in US, which is not actually a problem, but seriously, we need to change the balance. We need to have good and strong scale-ups and companies here in Europe. So remember those things. And thankfully, a lot of the previous speakers spend a lot of time discussing about the AI Act and the governance scheme in Europe. So you see a little bit what is the structure of the AI Act. I thought that would you find useful to see when we will have the first standards. It's late 2025. So there is a lot of work to be done before we really can implement AI. And also I see that they listed the governmental bodies or the governmental initiatives that will drive the AI. 2 things are important to be said here. 2 questions. One is who are going to be the people that will work in the AI office, who are going to be also, the director mentioned this, but who is going to be the people? What will be the mindset? Are they going to be the people that we want to have here in order to govern the AI? This is still an open question. And to me, actually, how much of the AI companies, how many of them will be regulated? Not as many as we think. Only 30 or 40% of them will be heavily regulated. Here are the challenges and opportunities that we have as a European ecosystem. I already mentioned a lot in the previous slide, so I will focus on the opportunities. The regulatory framework is something that we need to embrace, and I will come to this very shortly. We need to understand that we have a lot of SMEs, as I showed you before, and this is a good thing. We need to work with them, we need to connect them, and see how we can leverage their flexibility and adaptability. We have a lot of rich culture, which can be something that could really help us train better our AI. I will give you a very simple example. You know that the ChatGPT was using the European Commission documents in order to train the AI to speak in different languages. So they use the Commission papers, which is I found very, 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 very interesting. So this is something very good. And we also can spearhead the green and sustainable AI. I see the time, so I will be quick. So what is missing? How we can empower AI in Europe? We need to scale up the solutions. I mentioned this before. Reskill and upskill. We need to reskill and upskill our people and our workforce. We're doing well, but we need to do more. Invest more, and it's already happening in the hardware, and work more on the regulatory framework. And why? And this is last 3 slides, I promise. So I see the time. We don't need any more AI experts, in my opinion. We need to, it's good that we all understand the black box. It's good that we understand the social impact. but we need to, in order to really democratize it, we need to develop AI in Europe. And in order to do that, we need to boost the creators, the innovators, this is a hot take, and to adapt an operational agility and focus on people that are super talented when it comes to the governing of AI. People that are really entrepreneurs, people that understand, the innovators. This is the mindset. We need to change a little bit our mindset, and we need to understand this fast. The future of AI is trust. We agree on that. An ecosystem of trust is a prerequisite. Why? What I showed you before, the fact that only 35% of the Europeans trust AI, and only 1/3 of the businesses are using AI, it's highly problematic. Because our solutions cannot scale up in Europe. This is what it means. We cannot have users, so we need to change this. We need to applaud the Commission's initiative to create the AI and all the legal framework, because that will help us increase the trust rate in the AI, and not only that, to embrace it and create the ethical AI label based on the UAI Act. That will be pivotal, key for our future of AI. So every European company, when it's a European, it's immediately unethical. Everyone knows this in the world, so they can really leverage on this. And last but not least, we need to scale up. I mentioned this already. How we can do this? We need to harmonize not only the regulation, the tax policies, to streamline the funding between the member states and the European funding. There are different bodies that they are funding kind of the similar way. We need to streamline this funding in order to increase the funding for the startups and to move from low-end funding approach to the equity, embracing the high-risk, high-gain mentality. Many, many thanks. That was my presentation. I'm open to any discussion later. Many, many thanks.
Thank you so much. We have, because we have to be finished in 15 minutes, we have to look a little bit on the time. So one thing, you will see now a video about a so-called AI village. It is not a virtual village, it is a former TV hall where famous talk shows, the Germans know Hans Meiser and Ilona Christen, yeah, which were done there. It's now a TV hall for AI. It is situated near in Cologne, and my good friend Alex Dickmann will present it to you because it's a very interesting take upon how to implement AI into SMEs.
Von der Kohle zur KI, from coal to AI. This slogan was used by Minister President of the State of North Rhine-Westphalia, Hendrik Wüst, in a recent announcement of investments of computing center projects in the region. Following this slogan, I give a warm welcome to all the viewers and the whole European AI Forum from the AI Village, our innovative campus for AI in the heart of Europe, just outside of Cologne. My name is Alex Dickmann. I'm one of the project leads, and I'm looking forward to presenting the AI Village to you. Since last year, my team and I have been working on transforming this old TV studio that you can see here behind me into a collaborative hub where companies, startups, and the public can experience, develop, and learn about AI. The North Rhine-Westphalian government has committed to phasing out lignite mining until the year 2030. In a region where jobs and energy supply depend on it, this exit means drastic changes for the people, their lives, and culture. Funded by the federal government, the AI Village is one of the anchor projects in the region to successfully accompany the change into a more sustainable, a more digital future. Our goal is to establish the AI Village as a physical hub in the region and to establish the Rhineland as one of the leading AI regions in Europe. We achieve this goal by building on 3 pillars: experience AI, develop AI, and learn AI. Our first pillar, experience AI, mainly addresses companies, especially SME, in the region. Through events, presentations, demonstrations, we show them AI use cases hands-on and explain the added value for them. Next to this, we are currently working on a demonstration center in which the public can experience AI that you can touch. Once a company has understood the general value of AI, our second pillar, Develop AI, comes into play. Our team offers workshops free of charge to gain a deeper insight into the topic of AI and to identify specific use cases for the organization. Together with our large network, namely the German AI Association, universities such as the Rheinische Hochschule Cologne and research partners such as Fraunhofer Institutes, we then put together consortia to jointly implement these AI use cases. Through our work, AI startups do not only have the opportunity to gain valuable access to potential clients and projects. We are currently developing an accelerator program specific for AI projects, and we offer co-working and office spaces, such as these, as well as a growing network of experts. Experiencing AI and implementing projects are a good first step, but they are of little use if employees do not know how to use these AI tools. This is why we have our third pillar, learn about AI. Our experts offer various AI courses to empower employees to identify AI use cases in the organization, to work with these AI tools, and to promote them in their company. With these goals in mind, we brought AI closer to over 2,500 people at events in our studio, here directly, just in the last year. In the same time, we held in-depth discussions on the topic with over 200 organizations, and we are already initiated the first dozen projects. We will continue this work in the coming years in order to establish the Rhineland as a leading region for AI in Europe. To achieve this, I invite all of you to reach out to us, visit us here in Cologne, and realize projects together in the spirit of AI made in Europe. Thanks to all of you.
So, thank you. And now to one of the last points before we say goodbye, our friend Piotr from Digital Poland. Well, do we have slides for our friend? Yeah.
It is my privilege on behalf of the whole European AI family to announce that for the first time we are starting a project which is called European AI Awards. You just learned that there are so many ideas, so many scientific breakthroughs, so many startups, investors coming from all over the Europe. And the problem is that we as a Europe, when you compare to US, we don't have just one hub like Silicon Valley and maybe New York. We are really distributed, which means there is a lot of innovation coming from Paris, from Berlin, but also from Lithuania, also in Poland. And probably you are aware, and we are aware, that there are great new companies like Mistral from France, Aleph Alpha from Germany, and a couple others like 11 Labs from Poland. But we discussed within our family that we need to present the whole ecosystem, because one of the main challenges, for example, when you are a startup, you are looking for an investor or you are looking for a scientific breakthrough, and you are not aware that there are good investors in our ecosystem. That's why we decided to announce the European AI Awards. We're going to open the application form at the beginning of July. We will announce the first winners in December on our 10th edition of the European AI Forum. And the European AI Awards is split to 5 categories. First of all, we will award the best AI investors. What does it mean? We are looking for business angels, for private equity, for venture capital, who invest in best AI startups, but also in R&D. Then we're going to also award AI businesses. AI businesses are the best use cases, the best scenarios where AI was applied. So we will be looking for a successful corporation who will share for example, the use case and the successful implementation of AI, for example, together with startup. Then the third category is about spin-offs and applied AI. So as you know, there are many interesting scientific breakthroughs on universities, but they don't get investment. So we'll be looking for best spin-off that came from universities. The fourth category is the ecosystem enabler, which means we'll be looking for such projects as the AI Village, but many others, which brings together the whole community and build together the AI within Europe. And the last but not least, of course, is the AI policy. Because as you know, we live in Europe, which is more regulated than the US. We'll be looking for best policymaker, best government who do the best AI strategy, best AI implementation to unite the Europe and streamline the implementation of AI. In terms of countries, we are looking for countries, for eligible countries. So we are looking for organization, initiatives, startups, entrepreneurs who lives in Europe, but also who establish their initiative in Europe. As a Europe, we doesn't only mean European Union, some 27 countries. We include Switzerland. We had a guest from Switzerland, Balkans, also UK. The only countries which we exclude from, let's call our Europe family, are the obvious evil ones, which is Russia and Belarus. But we include, of course, our friend from Ukraine. So the whole Europe is invited to send the nominees at the beginning of the 1st of July. And I'm really, really happy that it's our first edition who will present the whole ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, we are really looking forward to that. So, people out on the internet, on YouTube, but especially also here, thank you for having joined quite a long session of the European AI Forum. I know it's a lot, but you have also, of course, the possibility of rewatching the most interesting parts on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe on LinkedIn. We are really looking forward to that one. And let's stay in contact. I want to thank Linas and the Artificial Intelligence Association of Lithuania for this great organization. Woo, Linas! Thank you. We wish you all the best from Chloé, Linas, and Piotr. See you in 6 months in another location in Europe. Have a good day and goodbye.
Thank you.